What's up guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is What If Naruto's Reborn at full power. Summary: 6 years into the 4th Shinobi War, Konoha is destroyed, so Naruto decides to time travel back to his childhood to change events with his godlike strength. Chapter 1, Hokage-sama? Kakashi's voice broke me out of my trance. I sighed to myself as I gazed at the ruins that once was the proud village hidden in the leaves. Konoha's fire still burned in the dawn that was threatening on the horizon. Glancing around the battlefield, my eyes found bodies I had never wanted to see. Ino, Kiba, Bushy Brows, Neji, Tenten, Kuji, even Shikamaru, our best strategist and my longtime friend. I looked back towards Kakashi. He had not changed much since the beginning of the war. His silver hair was still in a disarray, his Sharingan hidden behind his Hittite while the infamous mask remained in place. His green Jounin jacket remained, although torn and bloodstained. Kakashi-sensei, there is no village to defend. We are equals. I heard my voice in my ears but was too numb from the battle to register what I was saying. Then why do you still call me sensei, Naruto? The Jounin shook his head, trying to lighten the mood but finding it unmovable. I heard soft steps coming towards us and turned slowly, watching Sakura walk away from our temporary camp holding a small baby. As she grew older, Sakura had never lost her fascination with pink and red. She now wore a black skirt and fishnet stockings with black army boots. Her shirt was still a bright red, but covered with a meshed top, giving it a darker appearance. Her hair was still vivid pink, ending near her shoulders as it had when she was a Chunin, her leaf Hittite still holding the locks in place. Congrats, Naruto. It's a girl, Sakura murmured, trying not to wake the sleeping child, to no avail. The baby opened her pale lavender-gray eyes, displaying the trait made famous by the Hyuga clan, the Kekkei Genkai Byakugan. I smiled seeing her eyes, so similar to her mother's. How is Hinata-chan? She will be fine, Naruto, she just needs rest. It's good that we had some much warning before the attack. If we had been surprised, I'm sure she would have lost the child if not her life. Sakura took a breath and smiled at the little baby still lying in her arms. What are you going to name her, Naruto? Hinata-chan and I were thinking, I mumbled, Kakashi, Sakura, and the world fading away as I focused on the baby girl, my newborn daughter. I smiled. Hana, I need to go check on Hinata, she's pretty exhausted. Sakura all but shoved my daughter into my arms as she spun on her heel and strode back towards the healer's tent. I smiled at my daughter before glancing up towards Kakashi. Hana, eh? Good name, he approved. I smirked lightly at the affectionate light in his eyes. As much as Kakashi could try to pretend he had no emotions, he could not perfect the act. I turned my attention back to the newborn in my arms. Hana had inherited the wild blonde namikaze hair, just like I had from my father. I smiled at the girl, she looked so much like Hinata-chan. Naruto-kun? I heard a faint voice from the other side of the clearing and my head whipped up reflexively. I held the baby close as I ran towards the medical tent. I pushed the fabric aside and let myself inside. Hinata-chan was sitting up on a cot. I walked towards her side with a smile on my face. I'm here, Hinata-chan. How are you feeling? I saw Sakura smile tiredly in the corner of my eye. Better, much better. Thank you again, Sakura-chan. Hinata-chan thanked Sakura wholeheartedly, causing Sakura to blush slightly. That's okay, Hinata-chan. I'm just glad you're okay. I'll need to keep you here for the next few days if we're not attacked again, that is. Hinata nodded quickly and Sakura stretched before saying goodbye and leaving to check on another patient. Did you tell her yet, Naruto-kun? Hinata-chan asked after a long pause. I shook my head before glancing in Sakura's direction. She was smiling over a woman, chatting away as her hands glowed with green light and she healed numerous cuts running along the villager's arms. You're going to have to tell her eventually. Do we? We'll disappear, go back in time and change everything. This world will cease to exist, another future will be born. Hopefully a better one. I shuddered, hoping my words were true. I can't see one much better than this, Naruto-kun. She smiled brightly as she pulled our daughter to her chest. I smiled for a long second. Hopefully next time we can start a family without a war looming above our heads. Besides, if we can stop the Uchiha massacre, Sasuke team won't go looking for Orochimaru. I suppose. When did Kyuubi say we were leaving? Hinata-chan spoke with such confidence, it always amazed me how she used to be such a shy and timid girl. He said as soon as you're ready to leave without raising suspicion. The cover story is we are going on a mission with Kakashi-sensei to investigate an abandoned Iwa base. Hake it. That's not what I said. I told you to drag her. I'm well aware of what you said, Q. I just thought that saying that to a hormonal Hinata-chan would be a very bad idea. God, Hinata-chan's almost as bad as Sakura when we were all on Team 7. Well, hurry up. I told you and the girl, it would be easier to do this before the invasion got here. Now you've gone and depleted my chakra stores, chakra that just might save your life if something doesn't go exactly to plan. What? There's a chance this won't work? There's a chance everything might not work, baka. Go talk to your mate, you're annoying me. Love you too, Q. QB muttered something intelligible before he severed the connection. Hinata-chan looked at me with worried eyes. What did Q say? Not much, just that we should have left before the invasion. Same old, same old. He thinks it was a bad idea to wait around and use some of his chakra for the battle. He's just worrying again. You know, Naruto-kun, he is sealed inside of you. It might not be a bad idea to be a little friendly to him. After all, you're the only company he has, whether he wants it or not. I know. Blah, 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 ow. I know what you're thinking, Naruto. I wouldn't do that again, if I were you. Hinata-chan raised her eyebrows, her fist still in the air, waiting to punch me again. I'm sorry. Love you? I asked, uncertain if this was the answer she was looking for. Hinata smiled and lowered her fist back onto her lap. Love you too, Naruto. Okay. You have your instructions and plans if something were to go amiss while we're gone. If that is all, I'd like to get started. Yes, Hokage-sama. The various Jounin and Anbu filed out of my tent just as Temari walked in. Temari, what a surprise. And it was, her leaf hat I ate was held in her fist and her eyes were watering slightly. I sighed, expecting this moment, dreading this moment. You're leaving the leaf, correct? For a moment the woman looked stunned before she recovered and nodded once. Yes, Hokage-sama. It has been too long since I have seen Gaara and Kankuro. I don't even know if. Temari. It's okay, I understand. You can go back to Suna, I wouldn't hold it personally. This isn't your village anymore, now that Shikamaru is now that he's gone. You're free to leave, if anyone asks, you have already gotten my permission. Just before you leave, do one thing for me. Anything. Never call me Hokage-sama. I'm Naruto to you, and Gaara, and every single villager in both Konoha and Suna. It is an empty title now, I'm just another shinobi now. I'm not even sure if Hokage Mountain is still standing, let alone intact. Okay. Naruto. Thank you, Temari. Say hello to Gaara for me? Sure thing. Goodbye, Naruto. I'll see you soon. Temari left with a wave and a small, hopeful, smile. I watched her disappear out of sight before sighing. No, you won't. I stood from my desk and stretched. Looking out of my tent, I saw an Anbu, still guarding the tent. I rolled my eyes, perfectly able of defending myself. I waved him over and instructed him to fetch Kakashi and Hinata. I could feel the Anbu's confusion, even behind his mask. Shino, I know it's you. Just go get them. Hi. He vanished and soon returned with Kakashi, Hinata not far behind. I thanked him and sat back down at my desk, saved from the invasion. I propped my feet up and waited for Kakashi-sensei and Hinata-chan to sit down. I think we should leave today. As expected, the two before burst into questions and complaints on the timing, but I held firm. Listen to me, both of you. If we wait around, there is a chance that Iwai will find us and I will need to use more of QB's power to drive them off. If that happens, we will need to wait again till he is at full strength. The time-traveling jutsu is extremely draining, even for a demon like. That's Demon Lord, Kit. Shut up, Q. I know your title. I returned focus to the pair in front of me and flushed just a little, already embarrassed. Kakashi snickered and Hinata-chan smacked him on the arm. I cleared my throat and the two stopped playing around. Come on, I'm going to need both of you uninjured. Hinata-chan, don't beat up Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi-sensei, don't pick a fight you can't win. Back to the plan, we're leaving today, deal with it. If I need to, I will pull rank. I raised an eyebrow, the corners of my mouth twitching into a smile. We go under the ruse of a mission before we mysteriously disappear. The Anbu have instructions, but that shouldn't be needed. Once we're in the past, the future should automatically rewrite itself and this time will disappear. And what's keeping us from disappearing with it? Hinata-chan asked. We are? The way Q explained it, we basically just go back to when we were born, all of our memories and abilities intact, but we will look like normal infants. Kakashi, Q and I will mess with the jutsu a bit so you don't end up having to live your entire life again. Only the time where Hinata-chan and I overlap with yours. Before you ask, you cannot go back to save Obito. I'm sorry, but you're going to need your Sharingan when you're older. As I said, Hinata-chan and I will go back to when we were born. This means that I'll be around a few months before you, but that shouldn't matter much. However, I'm orphaned. So you, Kakashi-sensei, are going to adopt me, whatever the old man says. Just tell him that it's because I'm your sensei's only son or something. He should buy that. After that, we just have to wait to make the right decisions at the right times and hope we don't screw up and end up killing someone important. Like Tsunade-bachan. That would not help anyone. Anything I missed? Yeah. Since when am I adopting you? Kakashi asked with a strange mix of anxiety and annoyance clashing in his mismatched eyes. Since I decided that if an Anbu captain is watching, people will be less likely to, I don't know, throw a kunai in my leg? 'Cause that really sucked the first time around. I'd rather not do that again. Okay. What about Sage Mode? If I raise you, Jiraiya might not take you in. Irrelevant. With the Demon Fox summoning scroll, kindly provided by one Kyuubi no Kitsune, I can master Sage Mode in my free time. Something I guess I'll have a lot of when I'm a toddler. Hinata-chan? Any questions? Yeah. Who threw a kunai at you and where? No killing villagers, Hinata-chan. I'm still in charge. I can't let my mate go on angry rampages throughout the camp. Hinata-chan looked a little disappointed, but I didn't buy it. And I mean no. You're no fun, she pouted. And you've been talking to Kyuubi too much, I muttered, glancing at the seal on Hinata's left shoulder. It showed a golden fox with blue eyes standing beside a dark blue vixen with pale gray eyes. I glanced down at my own shoulder, the seal repeated. Okay. I think that's it. Well. No real need to pack, but we should throw something together so we aren't too suspicious looking. My voice drifted off as the three of us stood and began to walk towards the door. Okay. You have your instructions and plans if something were to go amiss while we're gone. If that is all, I'd like to get started. Yes, Hokage-sama. The various Jounin and Anbu filed out of my tent just as Temari walked in. Temari, what a surprise. And it was, her leaf hitayate was held in her fist and her eyes were watering slightly. I sighed, expecting this moment, dreading this moment. You're leaving the leaf, correct? For a moment the woman looked stunned before she recovered and nodded once. Yes, Hokage-sama. It has been too long since I have seen Gaara and Kankuro. I don't even know if. Temari. It's okay, I understand. You can go back to Suna, I wouldn't hold it personally. This isn't your village anymore, now that Shikamaru is now that he's gone. You're free to leave, if anyone asks, you have already gotten my permission. Just before you leave do one thing for me. Anything. Never call me Hokage-sama. I'm Naruto to you, and Gaara, and every single villager in both Konoha and Suna. It is an empty title now, I'm just another shinobi now. I'm not even sure if Hokage Mountain is still standing, let alone intact. Okay. Naruto. Thank you, Temari. Say hello to Gaara for me? Sure thing. Goodbye Naruto. I'll see you soon. Temari left with a wave and a small, hopeful, smile. I watched her disappear out of sight before sighing. No, you won't. I stood from my desk and stretched. Looking out of my tent, I saw an Anbu, still guarding the tent. I rolled my eyes, perfectly able of defending myself. I waved him over and instructed him to fetch Kakashi and Hinata. I could feel the Anbu's confusion, even behind his mask. Shino, I know it's you. Just go get them. Hi. He vanished and soon returned with Kakashi, Hinata not far behind. I thanked him and sat back down at my desk, saved from the invasion. I propped my feet up and waited for Kakashi-sensei and Hinata-chan to sit down. I think we should leave today. As expected, the two before burst into questions and complaints on the timing, but I held firm. Listen to me, both of you. If we wait around, there is a chance that Iwai will find us and I will need to use more of Kyuubi's power to drive them off. If that happens, we will need to wait again till he is at full strength. The time-traveling jutsu is extremely draining, even for a demon like. That's Demon Lord, Kit. Shut up, Q. I know your title. I returned focus to the pair in front of me and flushed just a little, already embarrassed. Kakashi snickered and Hinata-chan smacked him on the arm. I cleared my throat and the two stopped playing around. Come on, I'm going to need both of you uninjured. Hinata-chan, don't beat up Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi-sensei, don't pick a fight you can't win. Back to the plan, we're leaving today, deal with it. If I need to, I will pull rank. I raised an eyebrow, the corners of my mouth twitching into a smile. We go under the ruse of a mission before we mysteriously disappear. The Anbu have instructions, but that shouldn't be needed. Once we're in the past, the future should automatically rewrite itself and this time will disappear. And what's keeping us from disappearing with it? Hinata-chan asked. We are? The way Q explained it, we basically just go back to when we were born, all of our memories and abilities intact but we will look like normal infants. Kakashi, Hugh and I will mess with the jutsu a bit so you don't end up having to live your entire life again. Only the time where Hinata-chan and I overlap with yours. Before you ask, you cannot go back to save Obito. I'm sorry, but you're going to need your Sharingan when you're older. As I said, Hinata-chan and I will go back to when we were born. This means that I'll be around a few months before you, but that shouldn't matter much. However, I'm orphaned. So you, Kakashi-sensei, are going to adopt me, whatever the old man says. Just tell him that it's because I'm your sensei's only son or something. He should buy that. After that, we just have to wait to make the right decisions at the right times and hope we don't screw up and end up killing someone important. Like Tsunade-bachan. That would not help anyone. Anything I missed? Yeah. Since when am I adopting you? Kakashi asked with a strange mix of anxiety and annoyance clashing in his mismatched eyes. Since I decided that if an Anbu captain is watching, people will be less likely to throw a kunai in my leg? 'Cause that really sucked the first time around. I'd rather not do that again. Okay. What about Sage Mode? If I raise you, Jiraiya might not take you in. Irrelevant. With the Demon Fox summoning scroll, kindly provided by one Kyuubi no Kitsune, I can master Sage Mode in my free time. Something I guess I'll have a lot of when I'm a toddler. Hinata-chan? Any questions? Yeah. Who threw a kunai at you and where? No killing villagers, Hinata-chan. I'm still in charge. I can't let my mate go on angry rampages throughout the camp. Hinata-chan looked a little disappointed, but I didn't buy it. And I mean no. You're no fun, she pouted. And you've been talking to Kyuubi too much, I muttered, glancing at the seal on Hinata's left shoulder. It showed a golden fox with blue eyes standing beside a dark blue vixen with pale gray eyes. I glanced down at my own shoulder, the seal repeated. Okay. I think that's it. Well. No real need to pack, but we should throw something together so we aren't too suspicious looking. My voice drifted off as the three of us stood and began to walk towards the door. 10 minutes later, Kakashi and I stood at the camp entrance. We were surrounded by a small pack of ninja dogs as well as ninja foxes that I had personally trained with Kiba when he was still alive. The dogs repeatedly growled at my foxes who just danced around the canines grinning. Kakashi ordered them to quiet down when I suddenly heard Hinata-chan running towards us from the center of the camp. Sorry. Took so long, Hinata-chan smiled, out of breath. It's okay. What happened? Oh. Sakura-chan didn't want me to leave Hana behind so early so I convinced her to take care of her while we were gone. I nodded in understanding, seeing the disguised distress hidden deep within my mate's lavender gray eyes. It almost hurts to leave her here, I thought to myself while Kyuubi sighed in agreement. Welcome to parenthood, kid. Foxes are especially protective of their mates and their kits. Q? You're a dad? What, you think I've been stuck inside a human my entire life? No. I have 2 sons and a daughter. What are their names? The boys are wait. Why am I telling you? 'Cause you love me? Shut up and run, kid. Hinata's getting ahead of you. I smirked at the bite sealed into me and laughed once at his expense before closing the distance between myself and Hinata-chan. We're almost there, she said, sounding distracted. It'll be okay, Hinata-chan. Everything will turn out right this time. I won't have Sakura's obsession with the lonely Uchiha, you won't deal with my obsession of Sakura, and we'll be together again. And, just for good measure, your father can stuff it. Oh my god. He'll be alive again. And Hanabi. I'm not sure if I should celebrate or cry. I'd celebrate, everyone else will be alive again too. Or is that they're not dead yet? God, I hate time. I groaned to myself before Kakashi stopped dead in a wide clearing. We're here, he announced using his best "I'm so bored kill me now" voice, as I like to call it. Good. Q? Do you want to take over from here? Sure, kid. Okay, you 3 close your eyes, it's about to get really bright. And there might be a lot of noise. I've only done this once, and even then I didn't go to a set date. Hold on a minute. A bright light filled my eyes as I struggled to close them. I heard a woman yell and another woman announce something to the rest of the room. It's a boy. I kept my mouth and my eyes shut, not sure of how to react in this particular situation. Kushina? Kushina. Hold on. I need a doctor over here. Kushina, do you hear me? Stay with my, Kushina, don't you want to see your son? Naruto? I heard a very faint voice cough and I felt my head turn sharply towards the source as I opened my eyes slowly. On the hospital bed lay a red-headed woman who, in all seriousness, looked as if she were about to die. My eyes widened in shock as I realized what was happening. My mother is dying in front of me. I can't do anything to stop this. I spent the next few minutes in a painful silence, wishing my mother's heartbeat to start once more. It didn't. A pair of hands grabbed at me and I began to cry, confused and dazed at what was happening. I heard a man yell something about the Ondaime and a battlefield. My stomach rolled as I realized what was happening. My father, the fourth Hokage, was about to seal the Kyuubi no Kitsune in me, sacrificing his life for the village he had sworn to protect with his life. I felt a gentle hand on my arm, an attempt to distract me from the needle that was being embedded in my skin. I felt the anesthetic rush into my bloodstream and felt my energy leave me. I closed my eyes, giving up the urge to fight the drugs any longer. When I woke, I found myself looking at the face of the man that was holding me. I didn't recognize him until I saw the silver hair, the red and black eye. Kakashi? He isn't wearing his mask, I realized. Looking at his face for the first time, I was almost disappointed, the mystery finally solved. Hatake Kakashi looked strangely different, although normal enough, without his mask. I sat, almost mesmerized by the normalcy of the moment. I eventually noticed others in the background, old man, dozens of Anbu, a few jounin. I winked subtly at Kakashi and his eyes widened slightly before he relaxed his features into a sad smile. Naruto. The third Hokage said as he began to study me. I reached up a chubby hand and gently smacked Kakashi on the cheek, dying to see his reaction. Some of the crowd smiled but Kakashi's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. I smiled wider and turned to the third. He walked up to me and took me from Kakashi's arms. Playing along, I frowned and gently tugged on the old man's beard. He chuckled but gave me back to Kakashi before looking at the rest of the crowd. Dismissed. He announced, the ninjas disappearing or running off towards various parts of the village. Sarutobi Hokage sighed sadly and turned back to face Kakashi and I. Excuse me sir, but what are you planning to do with Naruto? Kakashi asked while I played along and giggled adorably. Old man smiled tightly and shrugged his shoulders. Honestly? I'm not sure. His wizened face studied mine and I burrowed into Kakashi's arms. He rolled his eyes towards me before glancing up. What if I take him in? It's the least I can do, he's Minato-sensei's son. After all, Kakashi repeated the reasoning I offered him. The third looked between Kakashi and I before sighing. I suppose. It would be a very good move placing him in an orphanage. Too many people saw what happened today and they'll blame him for the fourth's death. Old man shook his head once before slowly walking away, heading back towards the Hokage Tower, leaving Kakashi and myself alone. He took one look at me and his eye twitched. Can you talk yet? He asked, not sure of what my reaction would be. I opened my mouth but found no sound could leave. I shook my head once sadly. How long? I held up 9 fingers, guessing how many months. Kakashi rolled his eyes in exasperation while I smirked. This is going to be fun, I thought, already envisioning Kakashi-sensei trying to figure out baby gibberish. Then again, he'll probably just leave me with a bowl of ramen. Great. I'll be dead by the time Hinata comes around. 1 year later. Naruto. Kakashi-sensei burst through my door, hearing me wake up screaming again. Stupid war. Go away already. Kakashi took one look at me before nodding in understanding. The war? Yeah. Wanna talk about it? Not really. It was just Konoha. I drifted off, not wanting to explain my vivid nightmares. Konoha always burned, in each nightmare I had. Whoever the enemy, they laughed as my home crumbled to ashes. Hey, Naruto? Kakashi called, waving a hand in front of my face. I jerked, broken out of my trance. What was that jutsu you and the Kyuubi used? Yes. Akuma Baijutsu, Jikan no Tenchi. I don't know much about it, only that it is extremely dangerous. The only reason I allowed us to go back was the fact that we had the highest demon lord backing our chakra reserves. Without Q, we definitely would have died. Outside of that danger, it was difficult trying to find ourselves in a set time. We sent ourselves to Mai and Hinata-chan's birthday. Kyuubi ended up 500 million years before he was born, during the demonic world wars. Demonic world wars? Sorry, Kakashi, I don't have time to give you a history. Basically, the demon lords, not the Baiju, they're a different classification, had a fight for dominance until they eventually agreed to disagree, creating a system not unlike our own shinobi government. I summarized, trying to squeeze years of tutelage under Kyuubi into a few sentences. I could tell I failed miserably, however, when Kakashi's eyes clouded with feigned understanding. I'll tell you when you're older. It took me a long time to get it, but I'm older than you are. Physically, yes. However, I also have about 6 billion years of knowledge, compliments of Kyuubi no Kitsune. I win, I smirked, drifting back to sleep. 5 years later. I woke to a loud knocking on the door to Kakashi's apartment and chuckled, wondering which our crazy neighbors had come to scream about the evil demon this morning. This go round, all of the villagers were informed that I was the son of Namikaze Minato, But that didn't do much to discourage the more angry citizens from verbal assaults. I suspected the only reason I was not given to same treatment in this timeline was the fact that I was almost always guarded by my own personal onbu. I walked out of my bedroom, only to collide with a tired-looking Kakashi-sensei. "What did you do this time, Naruto?" Kakashi groaned, walking towards the front door, still half asleep. I laughed again. "I'm not sure actually. It's hard to keep track of everything," I smiled, winking at the annoyed onbu captain. Said onbu captain glanced at me dryly before opening the door, revealing Hyuga Hiyashi, to both my and Kakashi's surprise. "Hiyashi-sama? Whatever Naruto did, I'm sure he didn't mean to." Kakashi glanced at me worriedly while I shrugged my shoulders. "I don't think I did anything to the Hyugas. Hinata-chan would have killed me." "Quiet. Where is he?" Hiyashi cut him off, sounding angry although that didn't mean much. That man was a tad irritable at his best moments. The happiest I've ever seen him when he was given the approval to place a caged bird seal on Hinata-chan. Thankfully the war took him before it could be placed, but the intent was astounding. The Hyuga stepped past Kakashi into the apartment and narrowed his eyes, spotting me standing in the hallway. The man stared at me a bit longer until I coughed, self-conscious. Hello, Hiyashi-sama. Is something wrong?" I kept my head high but averted my eyes, a pose I knew that Hiyashi preferred to see. He thought to be less than perfect, anything less than a main house Hyuga. "I'm not sure yet." The man narrowed his eyes further, now succeeding in making me nervous. "Was something wrong with Hinata-chan?" "I don't think so, kid. He doesn't smell of worry and, at this point in her life, Hinata's father still likes her." "True. Then what's going on?" "My daughter, Hinata-sama, seems to have taken a liking to you. She wants you to attend her birthday party tonight at the Hyuga compound." Hiyashi spoke as if each word caused him physical pain. I smiled mentally, good thinking Hinata-chan, before nodding. "I'd be honored." I smiled briefly, trying to look grateful. "I suppose I succeeded." Hiyashi scoffed and agreed before leaving in a huff. "Well," Kakashi began as soon as the door closed shut, "I guess that is how you officially meet Hinata." "Better than last time. She was getting beat up by a couple of guys for being a Hyuga. I helped her out, got beaten up, and left by the branch member that came looking for Hinata-chan." I shrugged, glad I didn't have to go through that experience again. To think, I couldn't even create a simple clone. I turned to go back into my room to change into day clothes when Kakashi stopped next to me. "How can you live in there? Your room's a mess," Kakashi said. "It's no worse than your own," I shot back, glancing around at the discarded clothing, kunai, scrolls, and old ramen cups that littered the floor of my room. "You're not leaving this apartment until you clean your room." "Ooh, getting domestic on me, Kakashi?" "Shut up and clean, Naruto. Or did you forget that Sasuke's coming over when you get back from Hinata's party?" "Really? Great, I did forget. Meeting little Sasuke team for the first time, and I completely forget about it. Classic me, eh?" "Yeah, it is. Don't forget that he isn't a team yet. He is 6 years old. We have another 2 years to gain evidence and present our case to the third before this gets out of hand. If you are friends with Sasuke, I doubt Sarutobi would approve an order to slaughter both him and his family." Okay, I get it. Now I gotta get cleaning," I mumbled, pushing Kakashi out of my doorway. "No shadow clones." "No deal," I smirked. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A cloud of smoke rose from the ground and I was suddenly faced with 4 exact copies of me. "Okay, I know none of us want to do this, but we gotta get Sasuke team on our side before he has another option. So, WHO's with me?" 3 of my clones agreed, the 4th began to argue. I pick up a kunai off of my floor and threw it at him, hitting his heart. "Oi! What was that?" The shadow clone evaporated into air while the rest of us began to work. Kakashi, who was waiting on the other side of the door, smiled and walked away to get his room cleaned up a bit. Or not. Candles flickered happily against the twilit sky. The Hyuga compound was bustling with a quiet excitement in preparation for the heir to the clan head's 6th birthday. Branch and main house members alike were chatting amongst themselves, although the branch members were more open towards the others. I walked off the main path, heading towards the small koi pond located behind the main house. I sat on a wooden bench, watching the sunset, when I felt a familiar presence behind me. "Hey, Hinata-chan. Thank you for inviting me to your birthday party." I grinned, what Hinata-chan often referred to as my fox grin, before returning attention to the sunset and Hinata-chan's steady heartbeat. "I'm glad that you could attend," Hinata responded, smiling coyly. I glanced away from the dying sun to look towards Hinata-chan. She looked adorable at 6, dressed in a smoky purple kimono that offset her eyes. I glanced back at my own attire, simple black pants, a plain white shirt, and a periwinkle tie not unlike the shade of her dress. She motioned once to my tie before laughing. Did you plan that? Not at all, Hinata-chan, I'm sure, Naruto-kun, she chuckled before a boy not much older than us burst out of the trees. Ha ha. You can't catch me, Tenten, he laughed over his shoulder. Seeing us on the bench, the boy blushed furiously as a young girl followed him out of the trees. Oh, you're so gonna get it. She stomped towards the boy before pushing him into the duck pond. She crossed her arms proudly before spotting us and blushing accordingly. That wasn't what it looked like. Her voice trailed off and I coughed to hide a laugh. Hinata wasn't so subtle, she grinned brightly and gave young Tenten a thumbs up. Tenten helped the boy out of the water and I only then noticed his gray eyes. The two walked off towards the main path, leaving us alone once more. That was Neji? I thought Tenten and Neji didn't know each other until they got put together in the same Junon squad. They didn't. Then how? Well, I may have invited a few more people than father would have liked. But, as you said in the past, or future, he can stuff it. Hinata-chan winked and I once again reminded of how timid and shy she used to be around people, especially me. I hadn't realized I was grinning like an idiot until Hinata's fist came crashing down on my forehead. Wow, what was that for? I didn't even do anything. What were you thinking about? Actually, I was thinking about the day I came back with Uro-senin. Do you remember the first thing you did when you saw me again? I asked for your help. I remember that I fainted like an idiot. No you didn't, it was adorable. I was just too stupid to realize it. Yeah, between Sakura and Sasuke, I just can't get a break, can I? Well, it's a good thing we're not like that. Wait, what? Sasuke? What about that snake? As I remember you've kissed that snake not once but twice. God, you weren't even assigned to that mission. Where did you hear about that, Sakura? Sasuke was ranting about you again and she came to vent to me, about you of course. I groaned and held my head in my hands, already more embarrassed than I wanted to be in a single night. Hinata-chan giggled at my expression, increasing in volume as time dragged on for me at least. A branch member soon came to find us and we were forced to end our reminiscing in favor of cake and presents that would only appease children. When the party finally ended, it was almost midnight. I got up to leave but Hinata-chan grabbed my arm and pulled me back into my seat at her left. Didn't I tell you? Kakashi was sent on a recon mission. He won't be back for a few days and, in the meantime, you'll be staying with me, she whispered, surprising me. But I didn't pack, I muttered back. Maybe Sakura was right. You aren't exactly the smartest, Hinata mused while I could feel my face flush. Oh well, you're cute. But really, think. This is the Hyuga compound. Think of how many branch families we have. I'm sure someone has a boy your age with something you could wear. Besides, we can swing by Kakashi's place tomorrow to pick up some of your stuff. Good plan, I yawned. So, where am I sleeping? Hinata chuckled in a slightly evil way, dark enough to make me regret asking. Well, Tenten wanted an opportunity to see Neji in makeup, so we're having a sleepover in the main house. You and Neji will sleep in the living room while Tenten and I get my room down the hall. Hina-chan, I know my way around your house, you don't have to explain the layout. I'm not Shikamaru, but I'm not that stupid, I whined, 6-year-old instinct kicking in. Hinata-chan just chuckled and grabbed my wrist, pulling me into the house. Naruto. Naruto-kun. Wake up Naruto, Hinata spoke over me as I felt her shake my arm. Hina-chan. It's too early. Go back to sleep, I mumbled groggily, not wanting to wake up but already conscious. I felt sun on my face and immediately threw my arm over my eyes, not wanting to be blinded. I yanked my arm away from Hinata-chan and she fell back, surprised by my sudden movement. I felt my body move on its own accord, rushing to Hinata-chan before she hit the tatami mat. Are you okay, Hinata-chan? I'm sorry, I apologized before I felt her laugh in my arms. I'm fine, I always am, she assured me before glancing to the doorway, bringing my attention to a furious-looking Hyuga Hiyashi. I gulped convulsively as Hinata-chan grinned evilly. You aren't, she smirked lightly as she got to her feet gracefully before she stepped close to her father. Ah, Naruto. You're awake I see, hi she choked out, trying to remain polite, if only to uphold his reputation. Hi, Hiyashi-sama. Thank you for letting me stay the night. I appreciate it, I thanked the man, trying to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. I could tell that I had done a poor job however. Hinata coughed to hide a smile and Hiyashi's featureless eyes narrowed ever so slightly. Consider it a favor I owed your father. Hiyashi spun on his heel and strode out the room, ending the conversation and leaving Hina-chan and I looking surprised at his remark. Hinata-chan turned to me with questions in her lavender eyes. I shrugged them off and glanced around the room. The Hyuga living room was a mess, evidence from our sleepover with Neji and Tenten. I looked to Neji, still asleep on the couch, and winced. The boy resembled the future Kazekage's brother, Kankuro. His face was mercilessly drawn on by none other than Tenten, the future weapons mistress of the Leaf. I glanced in the china cabinet and my mouth fell open in horror. There, in thick black marker, were the words narutowhatif Hina-chan across my forehead. I struggled to make words, my young instincts kicking in as my body went on shutdown. Wow, but, is it? I found my sentences incoherent, even for a 6-year-old, so I turned to Hinata-chan who grimaced obligingly. Sorry, Naruto-kun. I couldn't stop Tenten. I was only going to use lipstick. She felt like using permanent marker. At least you don't have it on your arms too. I couldn't stop Ten-chan with Neji-san. Hinata glanced back at her cousin, a quiet regret in her eyes. I walked closer to Neji, wanting to see the damage for myself. Writing traveled up and down his arms and face, the print surprisingly legible for a 6-year-old's hand. There were many variations of the message, but it all boiled down that Neji loves Ten-chan. I winced sympathetically before turning to Hinata-chan. That's in marker, isn't it? I'm afraid so. Ten-chan's lucky Neji didn't wake up yet. He's going to freak out. Hinata drifted off as Tenten appeared staggering in the doorway. Hina-sama, why are up and Naruto-san up so early? She whined. I glanced out of the window to watch the sun just starting to appear over Hokage Mountain. I felt the familiar moment of confusion staring at the monument, only seeing 4 instead of 6. It isn't that early, Tenten. I live with an Anbu captain, this is nothing. I kept a yawn from my retort as Tenten glanced guiltily over at Neji. Oops, the girl said, glancing at his skin. Oops is right, Hina-chan smirked. Especially because Naruto-kun and I are going out for ramen now. Have fun explaining that to Neji-san. She held back an evil chuckle as she grabbed my wrist and pulled me out of the door. Wait, Hina-chan. I'm not even dressed yet, I shouted towards the Hyuga heiress, my words falling on deaf ears. Too bad. I'd rather not be here when Neji-kun wakes up. He might not have been as bad now as he was during the Chunin exams, but he had a very selective sense of humor. Hinata-chan glanced back at the quickly disappearing house with a worried light in her eyes. She's so cute when she's worried, I thought, smiling against my will. Instead of Hina-chan hitting me, something I expected, she smiled brightly in my direction. Thank you. In response, Hinata shook her kimono ever so slightly, the yellow and gray ink flashing in the muted sunlight. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that, again, I added mentally. I thought back to the countless times that tattoo seal had come in handy. During each and every battle, Hina-chan and I were able to read each other's thoughts and emotions, allowing us to work in harmony much smoother than the enemy had expected. Until she had become pregnant, Hinata-chan and I had driven away droves of enemy ninja and even samurai, just by our seamless attacks. You always forgot about it when it wasn't the first thing on your mind. Hinata-chan smiled as she shifted her hand, now holding mine instead of dragging me by the wrist. I was a busy man, I defended half-heartedly. It wasn't that I had pushed Hinata-chan away from my mind. There were simply too many people, villagers and ninjas alike, who found themselves in my care. It was during those minutes that I had grown a solid respect for my predecessors, the former Hokage who had fought in the Great Shinobi Wars, as I found myself in the largest war since the time of the Sage of Six Paths. I know, Naruto-kun. I know that you had your hands full. I'm proud of you, of how long we managed to keep Konoha together. Too bad it wouldn't stay together, I responded sadly. Hina-chan looked up into my eyes and pulled me into a tight hug. It'll be different this time, Naru-kun. I promise. I love you, Naruto-kun. I heard my Hinata-chan's voice over our empathic link. I smiled before responding in kind, adding my own bit as I took note of my surroundings. I love you too, Hina-chan. Always and everywhere. Did you feel the Anbu in that tree? About 6 yards, 2 o'clock. Yeah, he's been there for a while. How much do you think he heard? Hinata's worried thoughts drifted their way to my mind, which I accepted and deliberated. It's hard to say. We'll know if we're taken to the Sandaime, I guess. I mean, we should probably tell him at some point. It'd be weird if we were stronger than everyone else in the Rookie 9. Not necessarily. I'm a Hyuga, we're trained to be prodigies. Even last time, when father hated me, I was still trained to the fullest. After all, it wouldn't do to have a weak main house Hyuga. With you, you live with the famous Sharingan Kakashi. I'm sure that Sarutobi-sama wouldn't think too much of it, Hinata-chan reasoned. Still, we've just been talking about a different time period. I think that might catch the old man's eye, if not Danzo's. Forget Danzo, the Anbu is still there. We have to act like we don't see him. Oh, Hinata-chan. I just remembered. Kakashi told me to say hello to Hiyashi-sama when I saw him. Could you tell him? Sure thing, Naruto-kun, Hina-chan struggled to stammer in an attempt to bring back the former Hyuga heiress. Thanks, Hinata. Are you hungry? Kakashi took me to this great place last week. They had the best food I've eaten in my life. I tried to be the idiot I acted like back in my childhood. Hinata-chan coughed daintily to hide a smirk. Oh okay, and Naruto-kun. Hinata-chan tried to giggle innocently before doing a handless technique I knew well. Jikohaza no Jutsu. She thought, her eyes rolling back into her head as she hit the ground in a faint. The Jikohazen technique was one that I myself had created. Before I had been made Hokage, I needed to find Sasuke team. I had made a promise to Sakura-san that I intended to keep. I hoped, perhaps foolishly, that Sasuke team would come back to Konoha after he satisfied his bloodlust, killing Hebi team's remaining henchmen. Needless to say, that idea proved false. However, with a little help from Shikamaru, I found a way to infiltrate Sasuke's main base, still hidden in Rice Country, as a dead body. I used the Jikohazen, adding more chakra so that it suited my needs, and fell into a deep sleep, seemingly dead with no signs of a heartbeat or breathing. I was slipped through security in a body bag. Sasuke, being the arrogant bastard that he was, needed proof of my death. Unfortunately, I woke up a moment too soon. I had to fight my way of the team's main base, starting in the center, 4 levels below ground. Either way, for better or worse, the Jikohazen was created. I watched as Hinata used my own technique to throw off the Anbu, still hiding. I smirked lightly and threw my young mate over my shoulder and turned on my heel, heading back to the Hyuga compound. 1 year later. Hey, Naruto? What are you doing? Don't you start in the academy today? Kakashi poked his head into my room as I sat at my desk, writing a short letter. Nothing, Kakashi. I just wanted to write this down so I don't forget it. Oh, yeah. Don't say anything to anyone about Mizuki that you hadn't in the original timeline. If you warn the old man, that means I don't have a good cover story for knowing the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Which I'm definitely going to need in the future. Besides, I'd love to learn some of the other jutsu on that scroll, I explained somewhat breathlessly. I stuffed the letter into my backpack and slung it over my shoulder as I prepared to jump out of the window. Wait, Naruto. You're 7. Wouldn't it be a little bit strange if you jump off the 3rd floor and land on your feet? There are only so many times I can brush off the neighbor's comments. Then don't, I smirked, shining out of my room and appearing on a rooftop nearby the academy. I spotted Hinata-chan waiting by the door of the academy. I jumped down from my vantage point and started to walk to Hina-chan. Hey, Hina-chan, Naruto-kun, Hinata-chan smiled quietly. You're almost late. So are you? I pointed out to the Hyuga heiress. Yes, but I was waiting for you. Come on, we don't want Iruka-sensei to get mad at us on the first day. Don't worry, we both know enough that he couldn't fail us if he wanted to. I just can't wait to see Sasuke team's face when I throw shuriken better. Hinata-chan raised her fist at my remark and I immediately took my words back. Don't worry Hina-chan, the massacre doesn't happen for another 1.5 years or so. Besides, I already personally heard the Sundaime that he wouldn't allow the use of deadly force on Konoha ninjas. You heard this personally? How did you get into his office? Does he know that you were there? Yes, easily, probably not. In that order. His office does have an open window. How do you think Kuro-sen got in so many times? I'm pretty sure he doesn't know I was there. If he does, he hasn't mentioned to either Kakashi or I, so I guess I'm in the clear. For now at least. I had an Anbu outside my room the other night. Yeah, I've had a few tailing me on and off the last week or so. Do you think Danzo is behind this? Nah, they're just regular Anbu, not root. Kakashi has an eye on Danzo, anyway. He couldn't try much and hope to get away with it. Not now, I guess. Hina-chan and I turned towards the academy doors, only to find an Anbu wearing a weasel mask blocking the entrance. Hyuga Hinata and Namikaze Naruto and summoned to the Hokage's office immediately. Your Chunin instructor has been informed. Follow me please, Itachi spoke from behind his mask. Hinata-chan glanced subtly in my direction and I gave a slight nod, pretending to glance at my blissfully orange-free outfit. Itachi had walked a few paces into the building and paused, waiting for us to catch up. I walked up to him and gave him a quick hug. It's nice to see you, Itachi-san. How's Sasuke doing? I said as soon as I released him. The older ninja seemed surprised, hesitating under his mask. I gave him some time to compose himself as I dragged Hina-chan towards Sarutobi-Oji-san's office. The Uchiha collected himself and caught up just as I reached my fist to the door, ready to knock. Come in, a voice called before I could alert my presence. Eyebrows together, I feigned a confused look, trying to be innocent. I couldn't glance at Hinata-chan, her thoughts were in line with mine, trying not to laugh in our current situation. I glanced around the room, surprised to see the elders as well as half the council hiding behind the Hokage and his Anbu guards. Ohio, Oji-san. I smiled, jogging towards the desk. I stopped and ducked as I felt a kunai come dangerously close to my neck. I tried to retain my innocent child act, but my old battle-ready instincts kicked in as I spun downwards, grabbing the Anbu's wrist and twisting until I heard a faint crack and the ninja gasped, dropping the weapon. Has Root decided to assassinate me yet? Or is this a social visit? I coughed, dropping most of my act. I had my back turned to the desk, but I felt a chill travel down my spine as I heard Danzo chuckled humorlessly. I think I like this one, Hiruzen. He's either really stupid or really smart. Either way, with a few years I'm sure we could. Naruto is not a weapon, Danzo. I said no. However, this is a matter that needs to be discussed. Hiruzen reprimanded the old warhawk, shifting his eyes to my stance. I realized I was primed for the taijutsu style I had created, the War Awakuma, or the Laughing Demon. I shook myself out of the stance, walked slowly towards the desk and dropped the kunai onto the old wood. Keep your dogs on a shorter leash, Danzo. Kakashi already taught me how to defend myself. Also, I have no inclination to join Root. If anything, I'd go for the General Anbu Corps. Danzo narrowed his eyes dangerously. I'm sure that the man's glare, as well as the killing intent that radiated from the old man, would have froze a normal 6-year-old, but I had both seen and felt worse in my past. Danzo may have intimidated the council and the village elders, but he had nothing on Uchiha Madara. You don't scare me, Danzo. But I'm sure Kakashi already told you not to mess with me. I smiled, equally humorlessly. Hinata-chan put a hand on my shoulder comfortingly and I shot her a much happier grin. Well, Kakashi isn't here right now, is he? Danzo smirked, thinking he had won. I smirked and laughed under my breath, pointing to the window. Kakashi sat on the windowsill, reading from the orange book he was so fond of. He glanced up tiredly as he noticed the others jump at his presence. Thanks, Naruto. I was just going to watch, now I have to be involved. Kakashi complained to me. You don't have to be involved. You know I can take care of myself. After all, you're the one who taught me. I winked subtly at my former, or was it future, sensei. He smiled and rolled his visible eye. True. Either way, here's the mission report. Kakashi stood from the window, passing the Hokage a scroll. You sure you're fine, Naruto? I nodded, rolling my eyes. Kakashi chuckled and raised his hand in farewell. Johnny. He waved to the crowd gathered in the office. A few protested, but the ninja paid them no attention, jumping out of the window and disappearing in a Sunshine no Jutsu. So, I emphasized, drawing out the word, if Sarutobi Oji-san would come with me, I have something to tell him. And if you're worried for the professor's safety against a 7-year-old, Weasel-san can come too, I announced. I turned to Hina-chan and gave her a carefree smile. Can you stay here, Hina-chan? I think the council would get too antsy if the Hokage and Ananbu are up against 2 7-year-olds. Hinata-chan rolled her eyes, though her thoughts agreed to the wisdom. The Hokage and Itachi probably couldn't take us, even as 7-year-olds, if only because they'd be holding back. I looked towards the Anbu whose wrist I had broken. Anbu-san, give me your hand. I'm not going to do anything bad, I reassured the disguised ninja. He wearily gave me his hand after Danzo nodded at him. I held his hurt wrist in one hand, holding out the other to the crowd. Nobody freak out, I know what I'm doing, I murmured, concentrating my chakra onto my hand and causing it to light up with a green energy. I held my hand to the injury as I straightened the bones with my other hand. The Anbu winced once as I reset the bones, but remained still until I took my hand away and smiled. Sorry for that earlier, I noticed Danzo's signal for you to attack. It was my fault, I could have just taken the kunai away. Are you better now? How did you just? A council member stuttered before Narashikaku, Shikamaru's father, elbowed him in the ribs. Medical ninjutsu. Keep up, he frowned tiredly. I think he meant to ask how I have enough chakra control, or even basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu, Nar-san. I smiled tightly. I'll ask again, can Weasel-san and Hokage Oji-san come with me? The two ninja came to my side, albeit warily. I shook my head and tried to be good-natured, seeing as I was almost kidnapping two ninja. Inoiki-san, you should come too. Just so you guys can relax, we'll be in interrogation room 3. Knock if you absolutely need to come in. I glared pointedly at Danzo, sending him and only him a short burst of killing intent. He shuddered and stared at me confused, probably wondering just what I was. Inoiki-san, I'm sorry, can I speak to you in private for a moment? I asked the blonde ninja. He studied me for a moment, probably sizing me up, before nodding wearily. I led him a bit away from the group, close enough that they could see us but not hear a word exchanged. "What is it?" he asked, sounding tired. "I just wanted you to know, there are something in our world nobody should know. I'm sorry if what you're going to see causes you pain, but you need to see what happens. You more so than the other council members. Why? Because well, honestly, I'm going to use something that you might not appreciate." "And what would that be?" "Omoida Oeraku no Jutsu. The memory walk. It's one of your clan jutsu if I'm correct," I explained, waiting for the inevitable explosion that would be the blonde ninja's reaction. Surprisingly, he made an effort to keep himself calm before speaking, albeit in a strained tone. "And how, may I ask, did you learn such a high-level Yamanaka jutsu?" He emphasized his clan's possession of the jutsu and I sighed. "You'll find out in about 2 minutes, when I show you, Itachi, and Oji-san. And yes, I know that Weasel-san is Itachi-kun. He summons weasels, if you're curious." We should get back to the others," I mused, grabbing Inoiki's wrist and dragging him gently towards the current Hokage. "All done. Now, I have some explaining to do, don't I?" I smiled for a moment, feigning excitement. My smile faltered as I remembered Madara disguised as Toby playing the same card against us so many times. I heard a small growl in confirmation emanate from Inoiki, so low that I'm sure the others didn't hear it. I felt a small nudge in the back of my head and I sighed. "Scratch that. Stay here, and make sure nothing happens." "I need to check on something." I rolled my eyes as I sat in the lotus position before glancing at QB, pacing in my mind. "Is something wrong?" I asked my own demon. "Something's not right. I'm not sure what, but something is different." "Of course something is different. I'm about to tell 3 ninjas that I'm from the future, can summon foxes, and that they all die." "What isn't different?" "The village elders. They fidgeted too much. I think it has something to do with the Uchihas." "Is this because of the Sharingan again?" "Listen Q, I know that they were ungrateful jerks, but you can't do anything about it now. They all have the Sharingan but, as far as I know, none of them have the Mangekyo. Not even Itachi." "Still. There's something wrong, Kit. Something missing." "What is it?" QB continued to talk, seemingly to himself, so I retreated out of my mind. Coming to my senses, the first thing I noticed was Inoiki on the floor. I stared wordlessly at him for a moment before coming to a conclusion and groaning. "Tell me he didn't try to do what I think he tried to do." Itachi shook his head, kneeling at Inoiki's head. I grumbled to myself, not sure of what I was saying. I focused chakra to my hands again, placing one hand on Inoiki's forehead and another on his heart. "Come on, Inoiki. Wake up," I muttered, sending the chakra out of my fingers and into Inoiki's motionless form. He jerked away, knocking me down. "Damn, Inoiki-san. All I did was wake you up, no need to get violent." I rubbed my bruised shoulder before shaking and losing the joking facade. "Don't tell anyone what you saw until after I'm done. They won't understand with what they know. No offense," I added, seeing the offended faces of Oji-san and Itachi, his mask now sitting atop his head. "None taken, Naruto-kun." Itachi chuckled slightly. We all stood and I led the way to interrogation. "First of all, I want you to know that I hadn't intended on showing any of this to anyone yet." "Why was it that you suspected me?" I asked. Itachi and Inoiki shrugged their shoulders. Oji-san narrowed his eyes. "Suspected you of what, might I ask?" "Danzo thought that, if I see you, he'll be able to convince me into giving you to Root." "Thought, I guess he'll have to persuade you as well, seeing how well informed you appear to be," the Sundaime Hokage mused. "Yeah, that's not going to happen. But honestly, you two had no idea that I was anything other than Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto? Are you something more?" Itachi's joke died when he saw me, with a straight face, nod. His eyes narrowed suspiciously and he subconsciously took a half step in front of the Sandaime. "Calm down, Itachi. I'm not going to do anything out of line. Even if my furry little friend wants otherwise." I pointed towards my stomach, the demon lord's fur bristling at being called little, furry, and my friend. I smirked at his emotions but steeled my mind to reject influence from his poisonous chakra. "Hey Kit. That poisonous chakra saved your ass more time than you can count. And don't even get me started on." I cut the connection to his consciousness and winced as he took some of his chakra out of my inhuman reserves. "Is that necessary?" I asked, trying to re-establish the link. Q rejected the contact and shut himself away in the recesses of my mind. "Naruto? Naruto?" a voice called. I jumped, leaving my mindscape. "Sorry about that." QB wanted a chat. Sandaime visibly paled while Itachi took a step back. Inoiki held his ground, having seen us have a discussion inside my mind. What I hadn't expected was the ninja to be so brave. The blonde snorted and rolled his eyes at the two ninjas' reactions, acting like he wasn't at all bothered. What did he want? Inoiki asked, seeming truly interested. Not much. He thinks I'm being ungrateful towards him, so he cut down the amount of chakra he gives me. Kind of like an allowance. And, before you ask, the chakra doesn't corrupt my judgment or anything like that. It just improved my senses. It's kind of cool actually. I've been practicing enhancing my vision. It works really well, but it had a strange side effect. Side effect? Yeah. Wanna see? I dared the ninja. He thought for a moment before nodding briefly. I closed my eyes, focusing my chakra similar to a ninja activating an ocular jutsu such as Sharingan and the Byakugan. When I opened them, I knew that my eyes were now a fiery red and my pupils were but slits. I glanced towards Itachi and Sandaime, allowing them to see my red eyes. See, I call them demon eyes, for more or less obvious reasons. What do they do? Oji-san asked curiously. Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to become a bloodline limit like the Sharingan and the Byakugan, so I'm only going to tell you the basics. There are two forms. This one is phase 1, called Akuma no Mi, demon eyes. It enhances my vision and also allows me to see chakra in all 361 of your tenketsu. Also, it automatically breaks most genjutsu. I've been wondering if it can break Tsukuyomi, but I severely doubt anyone would be willing to test it on a 7-year-old. Maybe when I'm older. But I digress. The second form is named Shi no Mi, Eyes of Death. I pressed more chakra to my eyes, trying to trigger the transformation. From the gasps, I surmised it worked, causing my eyes to darken to black, even the whites. The only color remaining were my pupils, still crimson and slits. I haven't perfected this form yet, but I only discovered it a few weeks ago. So far, I know that, unlike the Mangekyo Sharingan, it doesn't deteriorate my eyesight. I can cast a powerful genjutsu, though I haven't done it outside of training with Kakashi, and, seeing as he isn't hospitalized, I can control it easily. It seems to do everything that the first form does, but, other than that, I'm not completely sure of this stage's capabilities, but don't worry. I'm not going to use it against the village or any of you. I'm not nearly as sadistic as Kyuubi wants me to be. I finished, letting the chakra recede from my eyes, which reverted to the natural blue. Itachi seemed a little uneasy hearing of an ocular jutsu that could beat the Mangekyo Sharingan, but he remained silent. Oji-san seemed more concerned with how I knew Kyuubi. I stood before my small captive audience, trying to decide the best course of action. My main dilemma was to find a way to tell them the truth in a way that wouldn't cause them to A, not believe me, or B, believe me, not believe I could control Kyuubi, panic, and end up telling the entire village about the Rokudaim's return to the past. Hey Q. Any ideas that don't involve a massacre? Well, you could always wait. Did you say no massacre? Nope, I got nothin', kid. Guess you're on your own for this one. I don't think so. I got an idea. Time to summon. And don't kill anyone this time, I'd rather not have to revive anyone else. That jutsu takes a lot out of me and I don't even have any extra souls with me. Fine, Kyuubi grumbled while I retreated out of my mind, returning attention to the three ninjas in front of me. Now calmed down from my earlier, Itachi was leaning against a wall, trying to maintain a calm and collected facade, but I could see the turmoil and confusion in his eyes. Inoiki was questioning the Hokage, asking if he was sure that I hadn't recently been near the Yamanaka house. The Sandaime himself looked more agitated than I'd ever seen him. I stifled a laugh, forming a mental image of Hiruzen punching Inoiki into a wall. Oji-san, as funny as it would be, don't beat up Inoiki-san. He has a reason to be so determined. And what reason would that be? Hiruzen asked, his eyes narrowing slightly at Inoiki. Because I know a lot more than he'd like me to know. For example, I can successfully utilize some of his most complicated family jutsu, I explained. Now, will you kindly shut up? I have a lot to explain and this information is not for Danzo's ears. I doubt Hinata-chan, as talented as she is, will be able to keep the team away for long. Probably another 15 minutes at most. This is highly sensitive information and I'd rather not add to Danzo's chessboard of politics. Any questions? I'd like to get started. Yes, why do you know Yamanaka jutsu, let alone any jutsu? You're barely 7 years old. A 7-year-old raised by Sharingan Kakashi, son of the White Fang. Is it surprising that I'm different from other 7-year-olds? I asked rhetorically. As for the Yamanaka jutsu, all in good time, it's one of the things I'd like to explain. First, you should all know that I am the holder of a summoning contract. Nobody freak out, I'm going to summon one of my favorites, I explained, my hands flying through the seals. Kushios no Jutsu. The smoke cleared quickly, revealing a small fox. She was a mortal fox that I had rescued just last winter after I found her training. She had dark gray-blue fur that was streaked with white. She looked at me with intelligent eyes, questioning me as to why she was summoned. I must admit, I was proud at how my audience reacted. Not a single one fainted. Itachi lost his balance and fell a step forward. Inoiki's eyes widened and he took a step back, perhaps subconsciously. The Sandaime himself looked shocked at the appearance of my friend. How did you and Hiruzen stammered, staring at the small fox with suspicion and disbelief. This is Koyuki. I found her last winter when I was training. She was injured and I helped heal her. Don't worry, she is a mortal fox. She can't grow and destroy the village. Although she is becoming a great ninja fox, I smiled, scratching my youngest summon behind the ears. She grinned as only a fox, and myself, could, and leaned into my hand. Don't be fooled, this girl can probably take on the strongest Inuzuka hound and win without a scratch. She's highly intelligent, even for a fox, and is learning English quickly. She's learning English? Itachi questioned, looking at the fox incredulously. I nodded to Koyuki and her grin widened. Of course I'm learning. Only Naruto-sama can speak to foxes and I needed some way to squeak to the rest of you, Koyuki said clearly, as if the other ninja would have a hard time understanding her. Speak, Koyuki, not squeak, I corrected smiling. Have I mentioned how difficult your language is? It's a lot less logical than Kitsune. Too many exceptions to your own rules. My summon shook her small head daintily. So, why am I here, Naruto-sama? I thought I'd take it slow with these three. I didn't tell them about the big thing yet, I explained. All of my summons knew about my trip through time, either being told by Kyuubi as we passed through the timeline or by myself as I befriended each one. Ooh, can I stay and watch? Koyuki's vulpine eyes laughed with me as she envisioned the trio of uninformed ninjas' faces as they took in the new information. Sure. Okay, nobody freak out. I'm going to use a Yamanaka jutsu to show you something. It'll be long and complicated, so just let me. I allowed my voice to drift off as I walked to the door and placed a time seal on it. Okay, that should give me enough time to show you and calm you down enough that you can leave. My hands went through the seals and I whispered Omoido Oeraku no Jutsu. The interrogation room melted away, drifting first into my inauguration ceremony, my friends congratulating me on finally becoming Hokage. I pressed the memory to my mind, willing it to stay in place. I am Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, Rakudaime Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, I said in the most serious voice my 7-year-old vocal cords could manage. Any questions? I smiled, 3 ninjas hitting the floor. Koyuki, now clinging to my shoulder, purred in delight. I was right, that was punny. Funny, I corrected, still smiling. I took the image in front of and pressed it to the seal I shared with Hina-chan. In the Hokage's office. Can't we go with him? One of the council members, one of the few civilians in the room, asked. No, you can't. Naruto-kun deliberately said not to, and you aren't in a position to question or disobey them. Hinata pressed her hands to her temples, trying to get rid of the headache that the council was steadily adding onto. And who's to uphold them? The civilian smirked, taking a step forward. Hinata smirked and disappeared in a blur, reappearing right next to the civilians with a kunai held close to his neck. That would be me, she smiled angelically. She moved again, appearing sitting in front of the door twirling a kunai in her right hand. Personally, I'd rather go to class. However, I was summoned to the Hokage's office. And here I, and all of you, shall stay until the Sandaime returns. Hinata added seriously before laughing loudly at the image that had just made its way into her head courtesy of her joint seal. The others in the office shifted uneasily, held captive by a seemingly insane child. Interrogation room 3. I shook my head, chuckling at the 3 ninja before summoning another fox, this one a 2-tailed demon fox. Might as well start it slowly, I reasoned to myself while Kyuubi roared with laughter. And they call themselves ninja? Kit, that was too funny, you have to do that again later. I'd love to see the Haruno's face, Kyuubi laughed, shaking my mindscape. Can you wake up Inoiki? I asked the demon fox. She glanced around, recognizing the blonde ninja from my memories. Koyuki rolled her eyes and walked over to Itachi, ready to kick him awake. Koyuki, please don't hurt him too much. He isn't the same person anymore. And get ready for him to pass out again. I chuckled, walking over to the Sandaime. A shout and a short scuffle later, I glance over my shoulder to find Inoiki pinned down by I smiled before walking to Hiruzen. Oh Jisun! Oh Jisun! Oh Jisun! I shouted, beginning to lose patience. I checked his pulse, just to be sure. Sandaime was by no standards young. I smirked before shaking the man awake. He jumped, startled. Wah! It's okay Oji-san. It's just me. Naruto. Yep, Rakudaime at your service, I mumbled, helping the Sundaime to his feet. Koyuki was now licking Itachi's face, trying to wake him. You can get off of Inoiki now. I'm sure he's calm enough. If you say so, Naruto-sama. Mai nodded her head once, retreated off of Inoiki's form, the blonde ninja getting to his feet shakily. Sandaime frowned, studying Mai for a moment before gasping and pointing at her. Shishize. I'm fully aware Sandaime. She is also one of my summons. If you or this village makes one wrong move towards her, I shall personally defend her and punish those who have acted against her, the punishment equal to the crime. She may be a demon fox, but she is more civil than a disturbing number of humans. And, unlike some of her relatives, she is probably the least bloodthirsty fox I've met, mortal foxes included. For that, she has my respect and should also have yours, I concluded, smiling at Mai. You may leave if you want. I know you don't like to be in such proximity to humans, especially the leaf. She smiled gratefully before vanishing in a quick burst of smoke. Why is your summon so uncomfortable in Konoha? The only demon fox we've had problems with is now sealed with you, Inoiki asked, confused. She is neither fond of or against Konoha. The only reason she has an opinion of the village at all is because I came from here and, as you said, a part of her family is sealed in my stomach. Her family? A voice asked. I glanced over to the door and saw Itachi now standing, Koyuki walking back towards me. Hi. She is Kyubi's niece, the only daughter of his youngest sister. Her father and mother are now gone, murdered by Ua long ago when she was just a one-tail. She was taken in by Kyubi and his mate, Haiko. Kyubi was the closest family she had until he was sealed within me by my father. How were her parents killed? Weren't they demons? Demons aren't invulnerable. They can be wounded and killed, but it is so difficult for every attempt to attack the higher demons such as foxes. There are very few weapons and jutsu that can even touch demons, most of which cause catastrophic damage to the user. Just look at my father, he was killed and Kyubi was trapped within a human vessel. If I had been killed before my 3rd birthday, Kyubi would have been freed to the world once more. So that's why Kakashi trained you from such a young age, Inoiki mused. Not exactly. After I had gotten the demon summoning contract from Kyubi, I trained by myself. Remember that I'm not 7 years old. Before Kyubi and I went back in time, I was 23. All I had to do was retrain my body to be able to do things that my older self could do, such as Sage Mode. You can do Sage Mode? Already? Hiruzen asked, his eyes nearly bulging out of his head. I sighed. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that part. In my time, we had the Neo Sannin. Like the original, we were all under the same sensei when we're Jinan. After that, we separated and were each taught by one of the original Sannin. I was taught by Uro-Sennin, Haruno Sakura by Tsunade Obachan, and Sasuke taught by Hebi Team. A while after I mastered the Toad Sage form, I received the Demon Fox summoning scroll and signed it. Unfortunately, that nearly annulled my signing of the Toad contract. The chakra needed to summon Toad skyrocketed and I couldn't summon Gamabunda and have enough chakra to use my best jutsu. I had to relearn Sage Mode from the Demon Foxes, who had a completely different method. It was a pain, but in the Demon Fox Sage Mode, I could better utilize more of Kyubi's chakra without it taking over. I could control about 7 tails before the chakra was too influential and I couldn't determine friend from foe. Back then, I couldn't go past 3 tails. 4 or more and I was gone. I remember once, during a fight with Orochimaru team, I took too much chakra and hurt Sakura. I let the information absorb for a while before I prepared for the memory walk again. I was about to go through the seals again when Hiruzen looked up at me. You said that you were the Rakudaime. What happened to me in the Godaime? I'll put it bluntly, you were killed by Orochimaru team during my Chunin exams. He posed as the Kazekage and invaded Konoha allied with Suna. I defeated Gaara, the Shukaku's vessel, and Orochimaru fled after you sealed his arms away. The sealing cost you your life and Orochimaru team took another body, replacing his arms. Don't worry about Suna, we're really good allies and the Kazekage was one of my best friends. The Godaime was Senju Tsunade. After you died, Uro-Sennin was offered the position but declined it in favor for travel. The two of us left Konoha for a while and found Tsunade and Shizune in a gambling town. She came back with us after a bet and a fight and became Hokage. What happened to Tsunade? Sundaime asked, worry in his eyes for his old student. She got old. We were invaded again when I was 16. She used up too much chakra and fell into a coma. She woke up later, but Danzo had already taken over. After Danzo was killed by Sasuke, I was declared Hokage in the middle of the 4th Great Shinobi War. Sounds like we missed a lot, then. Not missed. None of it happened yet. However, I know what your clan is planning, Itachi. It would be wise to convince them against it. The thing Danzo is planning is one of the main reasons Sasuke left Konoha to become a missing nin and join Orochimaru and Madara. What is he? Inoiki began. Omoida Oeraku no Jutsu, I shouted. Dozens of memories, my memories, spun around us in 2 lines, one much longer than the second. This is my version of the memory walk jutsu. Instead of showing you a single memory, it rearranges everything you know into timeline. I have 2 timeline because I traveled back and changed my life from the beginning, I explained, comparing the 2 timelines at the same point. In the original, during the Kyuubi Sealing Festival, I was beat up for killing the villagers by those who thought I was the fox. In this timeline, I've had a birthday party. This way, I can compare my lives and give you 3 a glimpse of my past and your possible future. I pulled events out of the timeline: Team 7 going to get ramen, Sasuke getting his Sharingan, fighting Orochimaru in the Chunin exams, promising Sakura that I'd get Sasuke back even if it killed me. I showed myself training with Uro Sennin, coming back to Konoha after years of traveling and training, Sakura and I fighting Kakashi as we tested our teamwork again after years of being separated. The rescue mission to save Gaara, the Kazekage and my friend. Battling Akatsuki members, including Itachi, and winning most of the time. Hearing news that Sasuke had killed Orochimaru and later Itachi, but still refused to return to Konoha. I showed scenes from my battle with Pain, where I was ready to die if it meant preventing more death and destruction to my home, up to the point where I was talking with Nagato, then crying over his and Jiraiya's death, when I swore to erase hatred from our world. More recent battles, fighting alongside Gaara as we attacked armies single-handedly, both of us desperate to prevent our friends from dying. I showed myself being taught various jutsu from my friends, Sakura's medical ninjutsu, Kiba's tracking techniques, Ino's family jutsu, and struggling to hold on to shadows under Shikamaru's tutelage. Finally, I showed the final battle in Konoha, in which we fell. We had rumors of a possible attack that I acted on, saving as many villagers and shinobi as I could. My orders for evacuation could not save everyone, however. Ino, Kiba, Bushy Brows, Neji, Tenten, Kuji, and Shikamaru had all fallen in that one battle, trying to buy everyone else time to escape. I had fought in that battle, using my father's Hiraishin in an attempt to keep everyone protected, a plan that had failed. I finally showed a happier memory, holding my daughter in my eyes and seeing a smiling Hina-chan and Kakashi looking at me trustingly. Deciding I had shown as much as I could, I pulled out of the timeline. I turned away from my memories and faced the 3 ninjas. Itachi was kneeling, breathing heavily. The Sandaime looked concerned and kept his eyes averted. Inoiki looked angry. Seeing my memories of his daughter's death caused his blood to boil. This is what I want hidden from Danzo. Itachi, I don't know if I should keep you away from Danzo or not. What you did caused so much. If you don't, then all of my memories will be void and I wouldn't be able to predict anything correctly. You won't leave and become Jiraiya's spy in Akatsuki, you won't be killed by Sasuke and give him the Mangekyo. But I can't ask you to kill your family. I'm sorry, but that decision is yours and yours only to make. Inoiki, I'm sure that wasn't the best for you either. I know for a fact that Ino and Lise are your world. It probably won't help, but the only reason you weren't there is because you had already died fighting Uchiha Madara protecting Ino. You gave her and her newborn son time to escape. Your death is what convinced her to teach me Yamanaka Jutsu. You and your daughter are the reason I know your jutsu and they saved my life more than once. I smiled sadly at my memories, turning to Sandaime. Let me just say, I really missed you. Now that I think about it, you were really annoyed by me in the past timeline. All I did was jump around, shout about how I was going to be Hokage, and yell at Kakashi-sensei for being late all the time. You had to convince Iruka-sensei to teach me, and even he wasn't too happy about it until I convinced him that I wasn't Kyuubi. And who can forget about the Will of Fire speeches? Okay, I guess you can, because technically you've never said them, but I'm rambling. I laughed quietly before I heard a slow knocking on the door. Hinata-chan sent a quick apology through the seal. It's okay, Hina-chan. We've just finished, I said to her through our link. I'm sorry, he had the Anbu and the council try to tackle me or something. I probably could have beat them, but that would have looked off, a single 7-year-old going against 12 ninja and winning? A little too much to expect, even from the Hyuga heiress, she responded, a little sarcasm when she talked about her position in her clan. I know. I put a time seal on the door anyway. Just leave it to me. Naruto-kun. Beat up Danzo for me? Maybe when we're older, it'll look less suspicious, I laughed, feeling Hinata-chan mentally pout at me. I rolled my eyes back at her and walked towards the door, ripping off the seal and focusing chakra in my hand to burn it. "Yes?" I asked the assembled ninja. Danzo stood amidst 3 masked ninja, all wielding kunai and ready to rush the door. The Warhawk himself stood flabbergasted at my casual response and, at his pause, I turned my head back to Hiruzen. "I'll see you later, Oji-san," I shouted into the room, winking at the trio. "Come on, Koyuki. We're late for class," I shouted, jogging back towards the Hokage's office where Hinata-chan was waiting for me. After school, Hinata-chan and I walked back towards the Hyuga compound where a branch member was ready, as always, to take her either to the main house or to the dojo for training in the Juken. We walked calmly up to the gates and greeted them. A young woman looked at me with narrowed eyes as she listened to Hina-chan's pleas. "And as long as Naruto-kun's there, I'm not going to get hurt. I'll probably just watch him for a while then come back. Please. Please please please." Hinata-chan begged. Judging from the feel of her thoughts, she was trying not to roll her eyes just as desperately as I was. After a while, the branch member was worn down by her reasoning. Okay. She quieted Hina-chan. "How about this? I'm going to go for a walk and tell Hiyashi-sama that you came along. If you aren't back by the time I reach this front gate, you'll be the one to explain everything to your father." "Thank you, Shiratori-chan. I'll be back really soon, okay?" Hinata-chan shouted over her shoulder, dragging me behind her. After a while, she stopped and spun around. "So what's so important that you needed to wait till after school to tell me?" "Not here. We're going to the 44th, I explained and Hina-chan visibly paled. "You don't mean..." "Don't worry, I've been going there to train for the last few weeks. Everything in there knows not to mess with me," I said, grinning my trademark grin. "I'm sure," she said, shaking her head slowly in exasperation. "Is this that serious that we have to go all the way there?" "Yes. Are you up for a race?" "Oh, you're so on. Kai," she smirked, deactivating her chakra-sensitive weights and stretching. I followed suit and smirked as I felt over 200 pounds of pressure disappear from my limbs and chest. "What are you up to on your weights?" "I have 20 on each arm, 25 on each leg." "That's nothing, I have 45 on each limb and another 25 on my vest." I smiled at Hinata-chan and got into a runner's pose. She rolled her eyes and shifted into the pose, knowing that she'd lose this race. "On your mark, get set." "Hey," I shouted, watching Hinata-chan run off without me, only a dust trail left behind her as she rocketed away from the village. When I caught up with Hinata-chan, the gates to the Forest of Death were in sight. I leapt past her in a long bound and jumped close to the gate, flying over the high gate and landing on a tree on the other side. Hinata-chan stopped dead in front of the gate, glancing upwards before shaking her head and slipping in through a hole in the fence a few yards away. "Cheater," I teased. She just smiled and flipped her hair away from her face and jumped to meet me in the trees. My hand formed the ram seal and I felt the weight return to my body. "Follow me and stay close, the animals in here don't know you as well as they know me," I cautioned her. "Okay, I'll be right behind you," she reassured me lightly, reactivating her own weights. I rocketed through the trees, following my path of kunai slashes towards my favorite clearing. After a few minutes, it came into view. The clearing itself was huge, about 120 yards long and 50 yards wide. Dotting the grass were craters of various size, all remains from my former training sessions. Unlike Team 7's training grounds, where I still went while it was unused, I only used the Forest of Death during the more serious ventures that I set for myself. Here I could train without fear of being discovered. I had never been followed into the Forest of Death and only Kakashi knew the exact location of my clearing. It was here that I relearned the Rasengan and Rasen Shuriken. I had mastered Sage Mode in this clearing and began to learn the Hiraishin with a 3-pronged kunai given to Kakashi by my father when Kakashi was promoted to Jounin. "What happened here?" Hinata-chan asked, looking short of breath at all the destruction. "I was training. There's a reason the animals know to leave me alone," I shrugged. I jumped to the branches of my favorite tree and sat down, patting the limb beside me. On one of my first trips to this clearing, I had discovered that, from the top branches of this oak, I could see all of Konoha spread below me, Hokage Mountain in the distance. The mountain still seemed empty, lacking both Tsunade's and my own image carved into the rock. Now, gazing at the village, Hinata-chan jumped up beside me and smiled at the view. "This is beautiful." "I know. You'd never think that one of the best views of Konoha is from the Forest of Death." Anko-chan would feel scandalized, I chuckled, remembering the eccentric purple-haired Kunoichi. Hinata-chan laughed, leaning against my arm. We sat, enjoying the view and each other's presence until I cleared my throat. "I'm leaving the village for a few years." I winced, feeling Hinata-chan's sense of betrayal from our link. "What? Why?" Did something happen? No, nothing at all. I need to get away from the village for just a while. I need to start some rumors and re-establish my spy network. I'm going to leave a Nico Bunshine behind that will go to the academy while I'm gone, but I need to go before too long. Can I come too? I'd love it if you could, but I don't see how. You have your Hyuga training to do and I'm not sure even a Nico Bunshine could survive a Jukin training spar. I think we'll have to be apart for a while. I felt Hinata-chan's feelings, sharper than any words, stab my heart. All I could do was try to defend my reasons and hide my own feelings about my leaving as I pulled her into a hug. Don't worry Hinata-chan, I'll be back soon. It'll be just like when I left with Uro-senin. You didn't like it then but you still let me leave. And I won't be gone for as long this time. If all goes to plan, I should be back in just over a year. That's not too bad, is it? I comforted my Hina-chan. She shook her head against my shoulder and sniffed once. I have something to give you, I said quietly, not wanting to startle her. 2 things actually. Only one of them is really for me, I guess. Hinata-chan looked up, meeting my blue eyes with her lavender. What is it? She asked, shifting her weight away from mine and allowing me to stand. I reached into my school bag and took out a scroll. I opened the scroll and bit my thumb before smearing the blood onto the large seal on the paper. Another, larger, scroll appeared. The outside of the scroll was etched with dark red and purple flames originating from each horizontal edge. I opened the scroll, revealing my name and my handprint written in blood below a heading that stated, Demon Fox Summoners. I held the scroll open to my mate. This is technically from QB. He said that you deserve to summon foxes and I agree completely. The choice is yours, though. If you sign this contract, then you'll have your own pack. Your pack can be both mortal and demon foxes, for example Koyuki and Mai are both in my pack. So why does QB want me to sign this? Not that I'm ungrateful or anything, but I am a little confused. He wants to keep it in the family, I mumbled, my 7-year-old face flushing. Hinata brightened and bit her thumb, reaching for the scroll. I held it open and she signing her name Namikaze Hinata. I rolled my eyes but she didn't seem too concerned. It's still my last name, time travel or no. Besides, QB knows who I am. I don't think he'll mind, especially if he wants the scroll to stay in the family. Hinata-chan defended her reasoning. I didn't say anything, Hina-chan. Anything to not get hit again, I thought to myself before wincing, watching Hinata raised her fist threateningly. What was that, Naruto-kun? She asked in her sweetest, yet strangely evil, voice. My eyes widened ever so slightly. The armies of Iwa? Bring it on, they're no problem to the one and only Rakudime Hokage. Hinata-chan's fist? Now I'm scared. Hey, Kit. You're so whipped. QB laughed at my expense, reveling in my terror. Shut up Q. That just means that your vessel is whipped. You sure know how to pick I smirked back at him, knowing that would rub him the wrong way. We continued to joke around back and forth until my instincts warned me that something was quickly approaching my head. I tried to duck but I was too slow, I rolled too far and fell out of the tree. Glancing up, I saw Hinata-chan smirking at the treetop. I guess you don't want your present, I goaded the Hyuga heiress. Her eyes, shining with momentary joy, met mine before she leapt off of the tree, did a double front flip, and landed at the base of the tree trunk in a crouch. You know, I remember when you could barely talk in front of me. And I remember when you kissed Sasuke and got beat up by a crowd of fangirls. What did you get me? She pressed. I groaned. Somehow, she always found a way to bring up that memory, a memory I'd rather crumple into a ball, set on fire, and laugh maniacally to the sky as it burned. I reached into one of my pockets, grasping a small box. No, this is not a wedding ring. Your father would kill me if I proposed at age 7, I smiled, watching Hinata-chan's eyes examine the black box before opening it slowly. Nested in the center of the velvet was a small charm, hanging on a silver chain. The charm was a highly detailed fox and completely silver, a small seal on the back of it. That seal is the Hiraishin marker. I can use my father's technique from anywhere, at any time, to travel to your necklace. If you need me, all you have to do is take off the necklace and feed it some chakra. It'll alert me and I'll come. That's not it thought, bite your thumb and put a drop of blood on the charm. Hina-chan looked overjoyed at the seal and confused at my request. She played along and placed a drop of blood on the silver charm. Now watch. We both watched as the drop of blood shrank, the crimson liquid being absorbed by the metal. When the drop was completely gone, the metal changed. In the center of where the droplet hit, a pinpoint of darkness grew and spread across the fox, retaining the details but coloring the fur. When the darkness reached the fox's eyes, it changed, dyeing the eyes a pale lavender. I smiled and pulled out my own necklace, already changed. The blonde was just as bright as my hair, the eyes the exact shade of my own. How did it? This is a special metal, only forged in the demon's realm, called Chiteko, bloodsteel. When you placed your blood on the metal, it absorbed your DNA and changed itself to match. The charm is now a part of you and it won't change again, not matter who bleeds on it. I've did the same with mine, to test it out before I gave you yours. Do you like it? Hinata-chan's way of response was to kiss me on the cheek and give me a tight hug. It was then that I remembered the branch member, the young woman who was probably returning from her walk right about now. Oh my gosh, we've got to get you home. Up for another race? No waits all the way to the Hyuga gates? You're on. Kai, I muttered. Hinata-chan formed the ram seal and murmured Kai before shifting into the runner's pose. On your mark. Get set. Go, she shouted and we dashed back towards Konoha. Back in the clearing Niku Bunshin no Jutsu, I muttered, biting my thumb as I added my blood to the jutsu. I stumbled as I felt the chakra leave my chakra coils. Instead of a cloud of smoke, the flesh clone materialized out of the shadows of the trees, a joking light in the eyes of the other Naruto. Yo, boss. Hey. Do you know what to do? I asked my clone. Yep. Be loud, act stupid, and annoy Iruka-sensei. Anything else? Yes. I've given you enough chakra that you do have some sentience unlike more primitive clones. You're going to grow and you won't poof away the first time you're hit. You'll be able to heal and to mend. With that in mind, that does not mean you should take unnecessary risks. You have our memories stay as close to the original timeline as possible. Boss? No offense, but you got beat up by Sasuke team's fangirls a lot. Do I have to go through that again? I'm sorry but you do. I've given you enough demonic chakra that you should heal as fast as I do but that's the best I can give you. I'll be back as soon as I can. But until then I'm afraid you're stuck with Sakura. Don't insult Sasuke team too much and avoid getting slammed into Sasuke. I don't need that memory twice, I shuddered. Is that all? Yep. Go meet Kakashi then do whatever we would do. Have fun. I smiled at my clone and he darted into the forest of death, following my familiar route out. You can come out now, Hina-chan, I said, looking at where my mate was hiding. She stepped out of the bushes with as much dignity as she could muster and walked over to me. Are you sure about this? Positive. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. It's you I'm worried about. Remember the Hiraishin. I've been practicing it, I think I've got it down, I said, pulling out one of my father's special kunai and twirling it in my hand before throwing it across the clearing and into a tree trunk. I closed my eyes in concentration and followed the seal's signature. When I opened my eyes the next second, I stood at the tree, one hand on the kunai. I smiled at it briefly before depositing it back into the pocket I had reserved for the Hiraishin. Show off, I heard Hinata-chan mutter on the other side of the clearing. I grinned, shining back to her. You know, this is technically a Namikaze clan jutsu. Maybe I'll teach it to you in a few years. Maybe. I'm not sure I'd use it that much. What? Don't want there to be a Raven Flash? What would your bingo book name be? I've never thought about that. What about you? Well, Yellow Flash was already taken, I said winking before Hinata-chan raised her fist. I guess I haven't thought about it that much. I'm already the Fox Sannin and Fox Sage. Isn't that enough? I don't think so. You're 7 years old, nobody calls you that now, Hinata-chan reasoned. She Kitsune? Death Fox? I don't know. Oh, I know, I said mysteriously, grinning, the perfect name coming to mind. What? Check the bingo book in a few months. I'll be there. And what are you going to be doing to get into the bingo book? Keep in mind you're 7. People aren't going to take you seriously, probably not, but that's what's going to circulate more rumors. How exactly was a 7-year-old able to infiltrate and destroy one of Orochi team's bases? Could he really use the Rasengan? You're having too much fun with this. I don't think so. If I make a name for myself now, I could stop Orochi team from giving Sasuke the cursed seal, but if you do that, he doesn't leave, and that's what triggered a lot of what we know. I got it. What? Let him get the seal but beat Orochimaru up so he'll be weaker for the battle with Sandaime-sama. Then, right after he gets the seal, you go into his mindscape with the Yamanaka Jutsu and kill the part of Orochimaru's soul. That way he'd keep the power but stay sane without that snake whispering in his head, Hinata-chan explained. I stood there for a moment, dumbstruck. Why didn't I think of that? Because you aren't Shikamaru. Or me, Hinata-chan teased, a small smile on her face. The smile fell into a frown as I picked up my backpack off of the ground. Are you sure about this? I'm positive. I've already made the flesh clone and he has his instructions. I'll be back and no one will be the wiser. Hina-chan smiled sadly and raised a hand to her necklace. Remember, give it chakra and I'll know. I'll be there, I promise. I gave her a tight hug before I looked into the forest, the opposite direction from Konoha. I guess you should get going, Hinata-chan sniffed. I'll be back as soon as I can. I even put a Hiraishin seal in my room in Kakashi's apartment so I could get back that much faster. Well, wait, are you waiting for? Get going, Fox, Hinata-chan laughed, wiping her watery eyes. I'll see you later, Vixen, I grinned before shining into the forest. Glancing back, I saw Hina-chan wipe her eyes before smiling and waving in my direction. You're so whipped. Shut up, Q. I'm going into sage mode. I need to be in Suna as fast as possible, I said, getting into the lotus position. I felt QB shrink back in my mind, allowing me to fully relax and sense the nature chakra around me. I absorbed as much as my body could balance and opened my eyes. Sage mode for the demon fox sage was a strange thing. Unlike the other sage forms, such as Toad, I didn't remain humanoid. Instead of gaining a few attributes of a fox, I completely turned into one, a blonde fox with blue eyes just a shade darker than my own. This form was my trump card. Not many ninjas know how to attack a fox. I glanced behind me and saw 5 tails slashing the air behind me. If I had eyebrows, they would have been raised. Hey Q, didn't I have 3 tails last time I went into sage mode? Yeah, but then you trained your ass off. Congrats, you're a 5-tail. That was good enough to be in my honor guard. Do you feel honored? You, the all-powerful QB no Yoko, had an honor guard? For what, tea parties? Kit, he growled warningly. That guard were my personal soldiers. Don't disrespect them. They're like what's-his-name's ninjas. Danzo, Root? I'd call them more puppets than soldiers. What's the difference? And shouldn't you be running? Something about saving the Shukaku kid? Damn, I almost forgot. I pressed my paws to the ground before leaping to the treetops. I forgot how fast this form is, I said, running over the quickly disappearing trees. You're just lucky you spent all that time practicing it. I remember when you just learned this form and you kept running into trees. QB laughed, his chuckle booming in my ears. I ignored my old friend as the terrain shifted into a grassy plain riddled with boulders. I stopped for the night when I could see the desert on the horizon. I shifted out of sage form, stretching painfully as my bones and muscles grew and shrank into my natural human form. I quickly made 2 shadow clones, one to hunt and another to help me set up camp and gather firewood. The clones darted into the tall grass, ready to complete their assigned chore while I reached into my backpack and brought out one of my scrolls. I undid the seal on the paper and began to set up the tent. When the tent was set up and my belongings safely put away, I heard my clones returning. Report? I asked, wondering if there was anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't much out there, my hunting clone said, holding up a dead rabbit. There were a few Konohinin plowing through the woods, scaring everything else away. I assume they were on their way to Suna judging from the direction they were running. They're taking a less direct route around the majority of the desert, so we should be fine. They didn't have a tracker with them. Good, I said quietly, taking the rabbit as my other clone placed the drywood at distance from my tent. Anything out of the norm on your end? Nope. Just the average plains animals. No summons that I detected or any ninjas hiding around, I said. Light the fire. When 2 clones had reported, they disappeared in a puff of smoke. I started cooking the rabbit over the fire when an idea popped into my head. Kushios no Jutsu. Hey, Naruto-sama. What is it this time? Where are you? My youngest summons asked me. Hello Koyuki. I was wondering if you'd like to join me. This is the Suna/Konoha border. I'm going to visit an old friend. Which one? Tamari-chan? Koyuki's eyes lit up. Strangely, she had enjoyed hearing about the sand ninja. She seemed to share a kinship of sorts with the blonde Kunoichi. No, her younger brother, Gaara. The redhead? Shukaku's vessel? Yes. I've been working on a seal to strengthen Gaara's original seal. When he was younger, the old raccoon drove him nearly insane. It was only after I beat him up at the Chunin exams that he calmed down. Sure, I'll come. Who knows? I might get to meet Tamari-chan. You will. She was very protective about her brothers. Just remember that nothing you know about happened yet. She's just a kid. And try not to talk until I tell you it's okay. I'd rather not scare them off. Their father should still be Kazekage. Deal. Are you going to eat that? Koyuki asked, staring hungrily at the finished rabbit. I laughed and took it off the fire before splitting the meat evenly between us. We sat in front of the fire for a while longer, just talking and joking around. When I got tired, Koyuki agreed to keep watch and I fell asleep in my tent, watching Koyuki's shadow pace the camp before sitting in front of my tent. I watched, hidden under a genjutsu, as Sabaku no Gaara, age 6, stood at his window, looking out the village that hated him for something and everything that was out of his control. I stood frozen, for just a moment, staring at the younger Gaara. He looked different but I couldn't place what was out of place. I shook my head once, running through the Yamanaka seals, whispering Ardayakana Shinryaku no Jutsu as I prepared to enter his mindscape. Glancing at the busy streets, he felt a wave of envy greet him before it was warded off by anger. How could they be so happy? What makes them so different from me? He thought to himself. You are nothing like them, a voice whispered in his head. You are better than them. Those fools should be praising you, not treating you like filth. What should I do, mother? I'm so alone. He sat at his bed, his head hanging in his small hands. You're never alone. I'm always here. And one day you shall have your revenge. You shall force them to repay every pain you've suffered. When, mother? I'm not strong enough. Soon, child. I will make you stronger. All you need to do is stop listening to Shukaku, Gaara. Everything your mother has said is a lie. He wants to make you strong so that you can crush those who have mistreated you. I want to make you strong to protect your precious people, I told him clearly. Gaara's head shot up and lost focus slightly, drifting over my genjutsu, before refocusing. Who are you? I'm like you. I was alone, I was hated by everyone. But you need to listen to me. I'll show you how I made them accept me. You can stop hurting people you hate and start protecting the ones who love you. No one loves me, Gaara insisted to the mysterious voice in his mind. My voice? Temari. Kankuro. They love you. Even now, when you only destroy, they will still protect you at any cost. You are family, their little brother. Who are you? I've told you. I'm like you. Gaara jumped at my voice, no longer in his head. I removed the genjutsu from my hiding spot and appeared in the windowsill. Kitsune, at your service. The redhead's eyes went wide at the sight of me before rolling back in his head. I only chuckled, having expected such a reaction from my young, old friend. My eyes narrowed ever so slightly as I learned what was off about his appearance. The kanji for love was completely absent from his features. His uncle hadn't tried to kill him yet. Perhaps I should have come a little later. That's a turning point in his life. I was about to take a step closer to him when a shadow appeared over the doorway and I heard a voice. Glancing over, I recognized the spiky blonde hair and the large fan. She couldn't have been more than 9 years old, but the blonde was definitely Sabaku no Temari. I stifled a smile at seeing her again. What are you doing here? What did you do to Gaara? She asked, trying to sound threatening, but even I could hear the fear and anxiety in her voice. I kept my voice low, knowing that I'd rather not hurt Temari. Not to mention Koyuki would attack me. I came here to visit your youngest brother. Don't worry, I haven't done anything. He was just a little surprised at seeing me. Why did you come here? What do you want? Temari demanded, holding her kunai at an awkward angle. I sighed. You're holding the kunai wrong. If you keep it like that, your hand is going to cramp up and you'll drop the kunai, I coached. I'm only here because I know what's been happening to your little brother and I can help him. Help him? You're younger than I am. And I'm the son of the Yondaime Hokage. I've mastered 2 of his original jutsu, the Rasengan and the famous Hiraishin, which earned him the name Konoha's Yellow Flash. I've been living with an Anbu captain all my life and have a summoning contract. I know what I'm doing, I insisted, resisting the urge to roll my eyes at the fiery kunoichi. I knew Temari, if I stepped out of line, the first thing she'd do was hit me. Temari punches almost as hard as Hinata-chan. Okay, you have my attention. What do you want to do? All I wanted to do was place this seal over the seal holding Shukaku captive. It will strengthen the seal and keep the Ichibi out of his head. He'll still have his control over sand. Yes, I know about that ability, but he won't have the demon whispering in his head unless Gaara chooses to start a conversation. And how do you know this will work? What if you're wrong and you end up releasing Shukaku? This could all just be a trap for the sand. Listen to yourself, Temari. What would the leaf gain from destroying Suna? Sand? We don't like sand that much. We wouldn't survive as well as you have for generations. You're adapted to this area, we're adapted to the forests. As for the seal, I'm sure it will work. I've already used it, I said, opening my vest and sending chakra to my seal, making both layers of ink appear. This is the seal that my father used on me. The one on top of it is the seal that I invented. It allows me to use more of Kyuubi's chakra without losing my mind. I explained, chuckling to myself when Temari took a few steps back, in front of Gaara protectively. Why, you're the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. But you can call me Kitsune, I grinned my trademark grin, laughing as Temari's eyes rolled back and she landed on the bed next to her brother. Needless to say, Kyuubi was very amused, judging from his roars of laughter. I hope Kankuro is busy. I'm not sure if I'd take him seriously if I saw him as an 8-year-old. Can I come out now? A voice asked from outside. Sure thing, Koyuki. She and Gaara are unconscious. I called back, laughing at the two future ninjas. Gaara of the Sand, the youngest Kazekage, and his sister, Temari of the Sand, the most powerful wind mistress to ever come out of Suna, both passed out at the sight of a 7-year-old. In all fairness, that 7-year-old was the future Rokudaime, the one and only Kitsune Sennin, and one of the Neo-Sannin. Don't hit me, Koyuki. She only passed out when she figured out that I'm Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. I wasn't going to hit you. Probably, she countered playfully. You know, you really are like Temari. Hit first, ask questions later. And you both can use wind nature chakra. Koyuki jumped onto the bed and began licking Temari awake. Temari shifted in her sleep before slowly opening her eyes to Koyuki's gentlest smile. Her mouth moved soundlessly and I leapt forward, picking Koyuki up gently and placing her on my shoulder, keeping a hand on Temari's mouth to prevent her from screaming. Calm down, it's okay. She is one of my summons. She's not going to bite you or anything, I calmed the younger Temari. Her wide eyes eventually narrowed and she bit my hand. Ow. Was that really necessary? I thought so, she bristled. So you summon foxes now? I told you I had a summoning contract. You never asked which one. This is Koyuki. She's one of my favorites, I said, scratching Koyuki behind the eyes. She purred loudly and leaned into my hand, playing cute for Temari. It worked. Temari's eyes softened watching the young vixen, her features moving into a soft smile. Do you want to hold her? Really? Temari asked, smiling shyly at Koyuki. I glanced at Koyuki and she nodded. I nodded in return and gently placed the dark fox in Temari's arms. I think she likes you, I mentally smirked, watching Koyuki stretch in Temari's arms, letting her reach her belly. The vixen purred loudly and licked Temari's hand, who laughed under her breath. Kushios no jutsu, I bit my thumb and touched the ground, causing a puff of smoke to rise up. The smoke parted to reveal a small tan fox with large ears. She lifted her chocolate eyes to meet mine and I nodded swiftly. Please wake up Gaara, Nico. Be gentle. He's had a strange day so far. Nico nodded her head and shook her sandy fur before jumping onto the bed and walking to Gaara. She began to purr loudly and rubbed her head against his cheek. The redhead chuckled and woke up slowly, opening his eyes to see my tan fox, specially trained in sand nature chakra, purring against his cheek. He must have sensed his kinship with the fox's chakra, immediately reaching out a hand to pet Nico. So you're finally up, a voice said, making Temari freeze. The future Kunoichi stiffly looked at the blue-gray fox still in her arms. Koyuki's eyes met mine, sending me a silent apology for blowing her cover already. What's your name again? She asked me. Kitsune. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Okay, Naruto. Did your fox just talk? Yes? She's been trying to learn English so she can communicate with humans. And why can your fox speak English? First, her name is Koyuki. You've probably heard of other summons talking, why should foxes be any different? I retorted. Temari seemed at a loss for words for a moment before returning her hand to Koyuki, scratching behind her ears, just like I did. Can you talk too? Gaara asked Nico shyly, who shook her head sadly. While Koyuki is my youngest summon, Nico is one of my most recent. I rescued Koyuki when I was training in the middle of a snowstorm last winter. That, and her chakra affinity, ice, is why I named her Koyuki, powder snow. I met Nico on my way here actually. I had just entered the desert and found Nico, dehydrated and wounded, under a sand dune. I gave her some water and healed her wounds and she agreed to be one of my summons. From my other fox summons, I figure it can take a fox anywhere between 2 and 4 months to learn how to speak English, although they can understand it within a week, I explained. Temari ignored me, continuing to pet Koyuki while Gaara nodded, a serious expression on his face. Isn't there a clan in Konoha that uses dogs? Is there a family that uses foxes? Yes and no. The Inuzuka clan specializes in raising and training ninja hounds. To them, dogs are their partners and equals. There is no clan in Konoha that trains foxes. Ever since Kyuubi attacked 7 years ago, foxes have been unofficially banned from the Hidden Leaf. I only get around that rule by training in the Forest of Death. The Forest of Death. I've heard about that place. It's supposed to be filled with all kinds of monsters and animals, Temari exclaimed, eyes wide. It is. They leave me alone though. Most of the times I go there, I'm surrounded by foxes or practicing high-ranking jutsu such as the Rasengan or the Chidori. Either way, I'm left in peace to train. Even the ninjas from Konoha try to avoid the Forest of Death. So why are you in Suna? Shouldn't you be in the academy or something? Gaara asked, smiling at Nico. I should be, yeah. As I explained to your sister, I'm here to help you. I know about Shukaku and everything that this village has done. I'm the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. If you're anything like me, you've been alone for most of your life, the village looking down on you, even though your father is the Kazekage. I know, I'm the Yondaime Hokage's son. I didn't know that the Yondaime Hokage had a son, Gaara said, his eyes narrowing in confusion. Most of the other villages think I died when I was born. My father made a lot of enemies in the Third Great Shinobi War. Iwa, for example, would be happy to try and capture me as payment for all the devastation my father caused to their people. Oh. So why are you in Suna? I don't think you answered. I didn't, you're right. I'm here to help you. I know your pesky Ichibi friend has been talking to you and I can help you make him shut up. I created a seal to help contain a Baiju's conscious. It will still be there but the entity, in your case Shukaku, will be kept more distanced from your own mind. I already used the seal on myself. At this moment, I could talk to Kyuubi and he can talk back to me but he can't do anything more than that. He has no control on anything but the amount of his chakra he adds to my reserves. For example, if I give you this seal, you will keep your ability to control sand. Also, if you get on really good terms with Shukaku, he might even give you the Demon Raccoon summoning contract. It does exist, I've even signed the Demon Fox contract. Really? Gaara asked, his eyes wide as he tried to process all of the information I was feeding him. Can I see? I suppose, if you really want. Stay still and try not to faint again. I'm going to summon a four-tailed fox. Kushios no Jutsu, Zoran. Naruto-sama. A large blue-black fox appeared in a poof of smoke, sounding a little surprised at its summoning. Is something the matter? Not at all, Zoran-san. I thought you might want to meet Shukaku-san's vessel, Sabaku no Gaara. Gaara, this is Zoran, my guard's second lieutenant. I introduced the two, watching as they studied each other. Zoran's eyes noted the dark circles around Gaara's eyes and smirked lightly, knowing what his old one-tailed friend had been trying. The insomniac himself was staring at the four-tailed demon, his eyes drifting from his blue-black head to the tips of each tail, shining a light red-orange. Hello. Gaara said awkwardly, his eyes locked onto the four tails cutting the air behind Zoran. The tails immediately stopped moving and curled against Zoran's back. I know, they're distracting. So, this is Shukaku-san's vessel. Zoran said, walking around Gaara in a circle. He could be worse I suppose. Zoran, he is only 6. He has a lot of potential and you know it. I'm sure he's practicing his sand manipulation, trying to get it out of Shukaku's control. I bet you can guess what your old friend has been doing. Ah, yes. That raccoon never could control his bloodthirst. It was great for bloody rampages back in the day, but it's getting a little old, don't you think so, Shika? Zoran asked Gaara, looking him in the eyes. I don't know what you're. Zoran, it's been a long time, old friend, Shukaku said inside Gaara's head. Just a second. Zoran grinned, placing the tip of one of his tails on Gaara's forehead. Try saying something, Shika. I forgot that trick actually works, Zoran. It's been too long. Well, it tends to happen when you go and get yourself sealed into humans. They don't let you have any fun. At least Naruto-sama is civil to Kyuubi-sama. But enough about the Kyoryutsune. What's this I hear about you? Giving this Gaara boy some trouble, are we? It's not my fault. The boy's uninteresting. I have to take over and kill the assassins his team of a father sends his way. The boy's too weak to take a life without me, Shukaku complained. Come on, Shukaku. You're a big demon. Instead of haunting Gaara, why don't you make him stronger, train him? Just look at Q and I. We get along, he's even given me the Demon Fox summoning scroll. I get stronger, he gets summoned every now and then as long as he doesn't go on a rampage. Why don't you and Gaara have something like that? I asked, deciding to jump in, because, Yellow Fox, this kid is boring. You can talk to me about potential when everything you know happens again. If you're so interested in him, why don't you train him? I can't. I have to establish my network. If you know what I know, you know he needs to be in Suna for his family. If that doesn't happen, he might not make it to the exams, I explained, earning confused looks from both Gaara and Temari. What are you two talking about? Temari asked, looking up from Koyuki. A very long, complicated, and involved story that explains my entire existence. I'd tell you, but it could put myself as well as the people I love in danger. Why? Are you a spy? Temari asked in a teasing tone. When I didn't respond, she gasped. What? How does Konoha not know where you are? Gaara asked, trying to ignore his sister, who is currently bouncing off of the walls. Kami, does that cub ever shut up? Shukaku growled, making the excited blonde slow to a stop. How could I? I'm not a spy, Tamari. Yes, I'm setting up a spy network, but that doesn't actually make me a spy. Being in charge doesn't mean I have to follow the same profession. Oh, really? So what are you? Right now? I'm a normal 7-year-old sitting in academy classes bored out of my mind. You mean they don't know you're here? Gaara surmised. I smiled at the 6-year-old, impressed at his understanding of the situation. No, they don't. If you would be quiet, I'd be able to explain everything. Well, not everything, but enough for you to understand, I said, rubbing my temples. Tamari shut her mouth and nodded for me to continue before reaching for Koyuki, now curled around my shoulder. I let her take the ice fox before sitting on the edge of Gaara's bed. As I said, the Konoha ninja don't know I'm here. I left behind a more evolved clone behind to sit through academy classes while I'd travel, train, and set up my network. Any questions so far? What kind of clone did you leave? I'm trying to learn how to do a bunshine but I can't get it right. I actually left an Iku bunshine. I'm not sure where I learned it, it's just been in my head for a while, I half lied. I had learned the Niku bunshine from one of Kabuto's medical scrolls that Sai and I had found while ransacking one of Orochi team's bases. A flesh clone? Is that even possible? It's possible but it eats up a lot of chakra so I don't use it. I usually use Cage bunshine because I learn everything they've discovered and I don't get hurt if I send them into dangerous territory. Cage bunshine was the first technique I mastered. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I left a clone. I told him exactly what to do, how to act, etc. I told 2 people that I was leaving 2 people I shall not reveal or explain my reasons for telling them. Why do you need a spy network? I have plans in the future. For some of them, I need a good spy network. I know for a fact that there are going to be people after me because of who I am. If I have a network, I can avoid them until I'm strong enough to confront them. If not, I'm sure it'll be useful when I show up as the Kitsune Sennin. You can go into Sage mode? Already? Shukaku, you should know what I'm capable of. Or do you not remember what Kyubi told all of the demon lords when we went through? I asked the demon. I heard Gaara start to ask me a question when there was a knock at the door. Gaara? Are you in there? A man's voice asked. Gaara's eyes immediately brightened and he grinned. Hey, Yashamaru Oji-san. Gaara called back. Gaara, can come out here for a bit? I need to talk to you. Yashamaru asked through the closed door. My mind started working on overdrive. When Gaara was 6, an attempt was made on his life. It was a regular occurrence by now, his father would regularly send ninjas after him to assassinate the Shukaku, but this attempt was different. This time the Yondaime Kazekage, Gaara's father, ordered his brother-in-law to kill the young Jinchuriki. The brother-in-law had raised Gaara to believe that he cared about him, only to stab him in the back. I knew I couldn't see this man and allow him to survive. Gaara needed to chase down all of his demons, no pun intended. When Gaara and Tamari were both turned to the door, I made my escape, leading Koyuki and Zoran out of the window and onto the roof, able to hear but not be seen. Hey Naruto? I heard Gaara ask behind me, his young voice confused and just a little concerned. Where'd he run off to now? Tamari grumbled. He took Koyuki-chan with him. On the roof, Koyuki looked at me smugly. See, she likes me too, she whispered to me, a grin on her face. I rolled my eyes and held a finger to my lips, asking her to remain quiet. I heard a door open below us and someone enter Gaara's bedroom. Hello, Gaara. Tamari, the man said, trying to keep the surprise out of his voice. What are you doing here? I thought your father wanted to talk to you. Something about giving you an early birthday present? I think he said something about your mother's fan. His voice drifted off as Tamari squeaked and ran to hug him. Thanks for telling me. I'll see you later, Gaara. Bye Tamari, say hello to father for me, Gaara said with as little venom as he could manage. Tamari rushed out of the door and out of the house, appearing below me in the street, running towards the Kazekage's tower as the sun began to set. Making a spur-of-the-moment decision, I ran to catch up with Tamari. When she reached the door to the tower, she was met by me, leaning against the wall. There you are, Naruto-kun. Did you need to talk to father or something? Tamari asked as her eyes searched for Koyuki. Not seeing her, her face settled into a disappointed pout. Not exactly, I was wondering if you could do me a favor. It depends on the favor, Tamari responded suspiciously. I heard that you want to use a battle fan. Do you have wind nature chakra? Yeah, what of it? Well, I was kind of hoping you'd taken a kit that I found a few weeks ago. She has wind chakra as well, so I thought she might be a good partner for you. She also seems to have some talent with medical ninjutsu from what I've seen, When I found her, she had a broken leg that was healing a lot more quickly than usual. "I can show her to you if you like," I said, hoping Tamari would adopt the fox. She seemed to think about it for a moment before nodding quickly. "Let me see her," she smiled expectantly. "Kushios no jutsu," I murmured, going through the seals and biting my thumb before slamming my palm on the dirt. A small cloud of smoke appeared, parting to show a tiny kit that was maybe 4 weeks old cradled in my hands. She had thick yellow fur with a white muzzle and throat. Her hazel eyes were open and blinking in the setting sun's light. I'm pretty sure she's a Corsage fox. They're supposed to have a really good sense of smell, keen hearing. They aren't the fastest runners, but can outclimb anything. Other than that, she was orphaned and I found her when she was about a week and a half old, her eyes still shut. "If you don't want her, I was forced to shut up." Tamari's hand slammed down on my mouth. "She's so small. If I'm right about her breed, she should grow until she's about 3 feet, nose to tail, and about 1.5 feet tall. I could be wrong, but I don't think so," I said, smiling at the orphan vixen. She grinned back at me, making Tamari chuckle. I gently laid the kid in her hands and she jumped slightly. "If she spends time around you, she should learn English within a few months. She can already eat meat. Give her a few live mice and insects and she'll be fine. Anything else, you can learn from her. I'm sure she understands everything we're saying now," I said, the kid confirming my conclusion by nodding slowly. "What's her name?" "She doesn't have a name yet, actually. If I raise a fox, I don't name them unless I'm sure they won't be released. If you hadn't taken her, I'd probably release this girl in a month or so. Why don't you name her?" "Sunya Arashi," she whispered. "Sandstorm." I smiled. It was a good name, matching her tawny pelt. "Take good care of her. I won't summon her again, as long as you watch over her," I told Tamari. "Why does that sound like a goodbye?" "Because it is. How about this, make it to the Chunin exams in Konoha with Gaara and Kankuro and I'll see you there." But the Chunin exams were. "Don't worry about it. They should be hosted again in Konoha in 5 years, according to Sandaime Hokage. And if someone by the name of Orochimaru comes to Suna, play along at all costs. He won't hesitate to kill you if you don't obey him. I'll see you later, Tamari." I gave her a quick hug before shining away. Looking back, I saw Tamari glance at the kid in her hands and smile before turning into the Kazekage Tower to receive her mother's battle fan, her inheritance. "Good luck, Naruto-kun. I'll see you soon." Her voice drifted over the distance, picked up by my enhanced senses. I frowned, remembering the last time she had said that to me, in the ruins of Konoha. I shook the sense of foreboding and walked back to Yashamaru and Gar's home, enjoying the night until a scream was heard, ricocheting off of Suna's buildings. It rebounded in my ears, impacting my senses from every angle. "What? Where did that come from?" "You know, somewhere up there, Shinigami-sama and Kami-sama are laughing their asses off. Think, Kit, what happens this year? You thought about right before you went to go flirt with the other annoying blonde?" "I was not flirting, I love Hinata-chan." "And what are you talking? Oh no. Not now, not today." I thought, the color draining out of my face. QB nodded once. "The timeline fits just right. Like it or not, Shika's having some fun with Gar's uncle and Gaara's not trying to stop him," QB confirmed. I ran across Suna in a blur, canceling my weights in order to get to the house as fast as possible. An explosion shook the village and I sprinted to the source. There, on the roof, Gaara stood overlooking the village with a mad look in his eyes. Not anger mad, pure insanity mad. Shukaku mad. I watched, too slow, as Gaara lifted his hand and the sand obediently drifted to his forehead before etching the kanji for love permanently in his skin. When I reached the roof, I stopped, sending out a short burst of demonic chakra, meant to temporarily remove Shukaku from control. Gaara's balance failed him and the 6-year-old went tumbling to the ground, right off the roof. I darted out and caught him right before he hit the floor. I took one look at the village hidden in the sand then took off for the desert. Unconscious Gaara and Do camped once again on the Suna/Konoha border. I set up a tent and laid Gaara to sleep, my original seal already in place. In the past when Gaara had tried to sleep, the Ichibi had taken control, eating away at Gaara's humanity and soul, making him fear sleep. Now with their consciousnesses more separate, Gaara could sleep without fear, getting rest for the first time in his life. I sat down in front of my fire, contemplating how to move forward. I didn't think I could allow Gaara to return to Suna, even with the seal in place. If only I hadn't came to Suna on this day, I screamed at myself, making QB wince at the anger I had directed at myself. "I know you feel bad, Kit, but this isn't your fault. Personally, I blame the Cubs team of a father. I know humans are low, but harming your own kids? That's just cruel." QB shook his head, the gentle parent in him coming out. Watching him in my mindscape, I got a brilliant idea. "Hey, Q. How would you like to be summoned?" If the moment of shock was an answer enough, the slightly sadistic chuckle following it was, "I like the way your brain works, kid. You know, when it works," he smirked, ready to get out for the first time in 7 years. "Just let me write the Dear Kazekage a little letter first. Take all the time you need. I can wait a few minutes to see his face. Just remember, don't kill anyone. I can't have Suna declare war on Konoha for having a demon fox rampaging through their village." "Not even a little rampage? No QB," I said, rolling my eyes at the billions of years old demon acting so childishly. I got out an unmarked scroll and pen and began to write. "Dear Yondaime Kazekage, I'm sending you this letter to report that your youngest son, Sabaku no Gaara, is anything but deceased. I am personally ashamed of and offended by your behavior, both as a Kage and also as a father, and if I hear that you have taken so much as a step out of line, I shall return to Suna and take something much more valuable to you, such as your life." I'm fully aware of Gaara's position, as well as his potential power, as the Shukaku's Jinchuriki. You are a fool for deciding his fate so young. With the proper training and control, I have no doubt in my mind that Gaara will be on level with the Kage, if not above them, by his 16th birthday. On that day, I have even fewer doubts that he shall come and claim the position of Kazekage from you. That is of course, under the assumption that no other decides to remove you from office, peaceably or not. As for Gaara's training, I myself have resigned myself to be his mentor. I shall teach him everything that your village would no doubt deem unnecessary or impossible for him to grasp. I shall ensure he grows in strength before allowing him to return to Suna, which I shall grant as soon as I believe him able to protect himself from the fools that are so publicly praised in Suna. That said, do not presume that you are able to bully my student when he eventually does return to Suna. If he leaves you alive, then it shall be against my wishes. I know that I wouldn't have that much self-control. Let it be known to you that, if Gaara does choose to be merciful and leave you in one piece, that is a show of his strength, not his weakness. If you have any questions, or wish to see your son, too bad. You gave up your rights as a father, both to Gaara and your other 2 children, the moment you first sent an assassin after your youngest. I shall keep you informed on his most recent progress, but don't be fooled. It is not out of compassion for you that I shall information. It is rather my own selfish whims, wanting you to spend every night thinking of the young boy that you cursed then tossed aside. As you fall asleep, think of the insomnia he suffered, knowing that if he succumbed to sleep, the demon you ordered into him would come alive and take control, eating away at his soul and humanity. The next time you see a shadow or a flash of metal, I can assure you that I might be with it. Even as I write this, I'm very inclined to drop all pretenses and abandon all social niceties. You may be the 4th wind shadow, but I can assure you there is more power out there, always out of your reach. There will always be another yellow flash, Sharingan Kakashi, Demon of the Bloody Mist, or Hanzo of the Salamander. A name is a beautiful thing, always ready to instill fear and hostility. Speak my name to the corners of our shinobi world. Spread word to every shinobi nation that your son and I shall return, much stronger and less merciful than you'd like to believe. With wishes of misfortune, Kitsune. The only Kitsune Senin. I read the letter over once, twice, searching for any misspellings or wrongly worded threats. Content with the letter's message. I rolled the scroll up, placing 2 black ribbons on the end of the scroll. In the Suna message system, emergency letters were always marked with a double black ribbon showing that the information was highly classified. Most doubled black messages were only read by the current Kazekage and possibly the elders before they were burned. My hands flew through the summoning seals, ready to mold the chakra needed to summon the demon fox boss, Kyubi no Kitsune. Kushios no Jutsu, Kyubi, I shouted, biting my thumb and slamming my hand to the grass. A large cloud of smoke erupted from the ground, dissipating to reveal me standing atop the 9-tailed fox's head. Kyubi, at his fullest height, roared to the sky, shaking the trees and sending all the birds and animals darting further into the trees, searching for a place to hide. I jumped off his head and he began to shrink until he was only 7 feet tall. One of his tails whipped towards me, making me duck in favor of being decapitated. Whoa, watch it Q. I actually like being in one's piece, I laughed, placing the scroll next to his tail. The tail wrapped around the scroll, similar to a tentacle, before rejoining the other 8 tails, thrashing the air behind him. Sorry kid. I'm not used to being out, Q apologized, his head leaning down. It's okay. I probably should let you out more often. It's just that you let so much chakra pulse away from you when you first appear, even if you can tone it down later. That first wave would send every Konohan into the forest of death the first time I summoned. I smirked, patting Kyubi's leg. Do you know what to do? Of course I do, I'm the all-powerful QB. Yes, the all-powerful QB no Yoko that managed to get sealed into an infant by a 24-year-old. I'd remind you that said 24-year-old is currently fighting my yang chakra for all eternity in a god's stomach, but I don't want to insult your family. You'll just dismiss me or something. Good QB. So the plan is basically get it and get out, no one the wiser except the Kazekage. I know you can do a wicked transportation jutsu, use that to get into the office. As much as I hate the guy, don't trash the office too much, the less evidence the better. If we convince his staff he's hallucinating, that'd be great too. If you're seen, just growl or something. They should back down. Give that letter to the Kazekage and no one else and... Okay. I get it. Is it okay if I stop by and say hello to little Sandstorm? I haven't seen her or Tamari since the last timeline. You can't let Tamari see you, you would just freak her out. No 7-foot QB is visiting that kid. She's barely old enough to eat meat as it is. Eating meat has nothing to do with meeting your lord. Keep in mind Sandstorm doesn't actually know that she's a kitsune yet, QB. That transformation should stay locked for another year and a half or so. I'll come back to Suna when she's old enough to turn into a human but not before that. When she's ready, I'll take her to the demon realm and introduce her to your court. Would that make you happy? Only if I'm summoned to the court. Deal. Now get going. Gaara should wake up soon. I playfully smacked QB's leg and he let out a warning growling before sniffing the air and disappearing in a cloud of smoke, leaving behind a kit, older than Sandstorm but younger than Koyuki, and a note. I forgot to tell you. This is one of my daughter, Yuriko's, kits. She has, for whatever reason, decided to entrust you with her youngest vixen. Kit, meet Pyrai. Congrats, your godfather. Have fun until I'm back, Q. Staring at the gold and red kit, only one word was going through my mind. What? The kit was, quite frankly, adorable. She had a single tail, being as young as she was. Her fur was a golden blonde that shone as it caught the moonlight. Her tail transitioned from the blonde of her coat to a fiery orange that flickered as if it were alive. She had dark cocoa eyes that had a faint ember around the edges, eyes that were dangerous but ensnaring. I watched the kit, smiling gently, until I heard something I had definitely not expected. Are you going to keep staring at me or do you have something to eat? I'm starving. The kid said in a light tone, her eyes growing ravenous as her nose twitched, smelling the wild hen I had caught as it cooked over a fire. It's almost ready. Just out of curiosity, how old are you? I'm about 200 of your years. Why? Because you look a lot younger. Demon Fox. We tend to do that, the kid said, rolling her eyes and squirming out of my hands. Once on the ground, she closed her eyes in concentration and I watched, mesmerized, as she transformed into a young girl right before my eyes. As a human she had short silver hair with a single blonde streak in her bangs. Her eyes retained the red shimmer but now seemed more mischievous. She was pale-skinned and had long limbs. She rolled her neck before taking a step closer to me and extended a hand to me. I'm Pyrai. Nice to meet you. Namikaze Naruto. Likewise, I said, shaking her hand as Gaara flew out of the tent in a panic. Bursting out of the tent, Gaara recognized me and froze. What happened? He asked, confused and disoriented. Don't worry. You're safe. After what happened with your uncle, I took you out of Suna. It's too dangerous for you there now, even with the little message I sent to your father. I was about to send Tamari a message saying that you're alive, but I'm sure QB will give Sandstorm the message. He may be powerful, but subtle he is not, I said, shaking my head. Gaara paled if that was possible in the moonlight. QB? Don't worry, he is a summons. I can dismiss him any time. He won't step out of line with freedom so close and I've already ordered him not to kill anyone. He's to slip in, deliver a scroll to your father, give Sandstorm a message for Tamari, and slip out before coming back here. Nothing he can't handle. So how can I sleep? Didn't Shukaku do anything when I was sleeping? And who is this? Gaara asked, only now noticing Pyrai. I kind of put the strengthening seal on you when I knocked you out back in Suna. I thought you wouldn't mind. If it took, you shouldn't be able to hear Shukaku unless you want to. As for her, this is my goddaughter? I'm not really sure. She's a... Stop beating around the bush, Naruto. I'm a kitsune, cub. I'm one of Kyuubi's granddaughters. My mother, Yuriko, entrusted me to this little kid, she said, pointing to me. Who are you calling a kid? I'm 28 years older than you, I shouted. Age and height were always my two sensitive nerves. I was always the short kid until I went training with Uro-Sennin and I always seemed to be younger than everyone else in the Konoha 11. Good going, Naruto. You are aware that the cub didn't know who you are, right? And you did? I asked, shocked at how much the kitsune seemed to know. Of course I knew. Kyubi-sama pretty much announced it to the entire royal court and, being Yuriko Heime's daughter entitles me to a seat in politics. What is going on here? Gaara shouted, trying to overpower our bickering. I sighed, not sure how exactly to move forward. Frustrated, my hands formed a seal and I heard my voice shout out Henge. A puff of smoke later I was my 22-year-old self, Rakudaime/Sage Coat and all. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, Rakudaime Hokage, Kitsune Sennin, and Neo Sanin, Kitsune, and a bunch of other titles I don't bother with. The only one you need to know is Time Traveler, Pyrai said bluntly, deflating my ego. For the third time today, Sabaku no Gaara lost consciousness. And that is why I was going to sugarcoat it, I said in a grunt, lifting Gaara easily and carrying him back to the tent. He's Shukaku-sama's vessel. He needs to grow a spine, Pyrai shrugged indifferently. You didn't have to say it like that. The kid has had a rough day. First me, then Fox summons, then Demon Fox summons, then my disappearance, his uncle's assassination attempt, killing his uncle, carving love into his face, and being knocked out by yours truly can really wear a 6-year-old out. He doesn't have time to be a 6-year-old. You have less than 2 years to train the kid before sending him back to Suna or smuggling him into Konoha. That's less time than what you had with Jiraiya Sennin, and then you still needed a lot of training before you took on anyone like Pain. There isn't enough time to coddle the cub, you need to train him until he can't move. I know that. I just can't imagine what this'll do to the timeline. It depends. Let the Hebi take over Suna and he'll be welcomed, just in time for the Chunin exams. Before that, you're going to have issues with the Kazekage. I know. I guess we'll have to play this by ear, I said, watching Gaara turn in his sleep. I was about to say something else but my thoughts were quickly scattered by a pulse of chakra I got from a faraway Hiraishin seal. Hinata. I need to. I know. Go find your mate. I'll watch the cub. Thanks, Pyrai. Be back soon, I said, placing a Hiraishin onto the tent before pushing my chakra to Hinata-chan's necklace. I rode my chakra back to Konoha, where the wave ended. There, standing in the forest of death stood Hinata-chan with Itachi. At the sight of the raven-haired ninja, I couldn't help but shift into a defensive pose. Remembering where, and when, I shifted out of the crouch, shrugging my shoulders apologetically. Sorry, Itachi. Wrong timeline. That's going to take some getting. When did the Uchiha massacre take place? The date? He asked, sounding desperate and keeping his eyes averted as Hinata-chan hung her necklace back around her neck, the blood steel glinting sharply in the moonlight. At this point, I said something really intelligent like why? But Itachi met my eyes. Tumengekyo Sharingan pierced the darkness. It's soon. Today Danzo had him killed right in front of me. I couldn't even do anything. Shisui is gone, Itachi muttered, dropping his eyes to the ground again. Not knowing what else to do, I walked over to Itachi and put a hand on his shoulder. What should I do? I don't know, Itachi. You could make yourself an S-ranking missing nin and become Sasuke's reason for moving forward, or you could try to go against Danzo and try to find a peaceful way to stop the coup with Hiruzen. I can't tell you what to do, Itachi. All I can is, either way, I'll do all I can to keep Sasuke in the village. Everything is out of my hands. I turned to Hinata-chan, who tackled me into a hug. I missed you, she whispered in my ear. Already? I haven't been gone a week. How's the clone doing? Loud, confident, and getting touchy about his height. I'd say he's doing a pretty spot-on performance. How are things at your end? Actually, I haven't quite started, I said, scratching the back of my head nervously. Hinata-chan looked ready to explode before taking a deep breath and faking a smile. And what were you doing this entire time? She pressed, adding so much killing intent to her words that even Itachi, the Uchiha prodigy, choked. Saving Gaara from Yashimaru, letting Temari down easy, giving away a baby kitsune that doesn't know she's a kitsune yet, meeting another kitsune who's my goddaughter. The usual unpredictable ninja news, I choked out, trying not to bite my tongue. The pressure disappeared and I could feel Hinata-chan's worry drifting over to me through the lake. Is Gaara okay? He should be. I might have taken him out of Suna and sent a strongly worded letter to his father. You threatened the Yondaime Kazekage after kidnapping his son? Only after he sent dozens of assassins after Gaara. He's lucky he's alive, Kazekage or not. I'm going to be training Gaara to better use Shukaku's powers and how to get along with him. If we're lucky, he'll give him the raccoon summoning contract. That would be helpful in the future. I'll only be able to train him for a year or so before I come back here, at least for a while. In the meantime, you should practice your politics. Demons are just as concerned with images as Hiyashi is. We need you to make an appearance before Kyubi's court, sooner rather than later. Until you meet them, you can't have your own guard and you'll only be able to summon mortal foxes. Kyuubi's court? Think of our ninja council. It's just a bunch of powerful demon foxes sitting together at a table with Kyuubi at its head. Fox politics and human politics are really similar. Kyuubi is like the Hokage, Yuriko is head Onbu, Zoran is an elder, and so forth. Back to foxes, I think you should start training a mortal pack while I'm away with Gaara. How? I can't speak fox and know nothing about training ninja foxes. Think about who is a major crush on you at this point in time. I smirked, remembering the Inuzuka's temper whenever I was seen near Hinata-chan. Her eyes looked confused before widening slightly. Kiba? You want me to ask Kiba for help? Ninja dogs and ninja foxes are very similar. The only real difference is that foxes are generally smarter, faster, and smaller. They're good at infiltration although not usually as physically strong. As long as you make sure Kiba knows you aren't after his clan jutsu, I'm sure he'll help you. His clan is so close to animals, I don't think he'll mind bending the whole no fox rule, especially if it's for you. You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Hinata-chan asked, glaring at me. I grinned in response. Believe it, I chuckled, remembering my old catchphrase. The smile melted as Hinata-chan raised her fist threatening. Once Kiba teaches you the basics, I can show you how to do the jutsu that I've invented specifically for foxes. In the past timeline, I had not gotten the fox contract until I had become Hokage. In the midst of the Fourth Great Shinobi War, there was hardly enough manpower on our side. Each time one of our ninjas died, Kabuto had the option to resurrect them for his own uses, growing more powerful at each hit we took. Discovering and testing my new bond with foxes, both mortal and demon, I created a number of techniques that, when used correctly, could have devastating results for the opposing side. Many of them were based on Inuzuka jutsu and all were just as effective if not more. With reinforcements, both mortal and demonic, we slowly began to push Madara's forces back. Hey Kit, where'd you go? A familiar voice rang in my head. I winced at the volume. Hina-chan looked at me with concern before nodding in understanding, Kyuubi's voice echoing through her seal. You know Kyuubi, you don't need to be that loud. Even I heard you. Hey, Vixen. Haven't talked to you in a while. Kyuubi jumped, remembering just how violent and irate Hinata could be. Yeah sure, be polite to her. I'm the one that let you out. You let him out? Why? Hinata-chan questioned me. Well, I said that I gave the Kazekage a strongly worded letter. Q agreed to be courier. Kit, you should have seen his face. Priceless. Kyuubi roared in laughter, making both of us wince. Sorry. Control your volume, Q. That hurts. I'll be back soon. Make sure Pyrai doesn't kill Gaara. Or let Shukaku out. I don't need two bloodthirsty demon lords and an equally sadistic kitsune. Gaara's had a long day. I'll try. See you later, Kit, Vixen, Kyuubi said, using his nickname for Hina-chan. She blushed slightly and thought her goodbyes. So how am I starting my pack? Hinata-chan asked as soon as Q left our minds. Go to the Naras. Ask them if you can take a walk in their woods. They might not advertise, but their forest is home to a number of foxes, as well as deer. If they don't want to let you in, tell them that you have the fox summoning contract, just don't tell them how you got it. They should let you in after that. They understand the bond between a summoner and the summons, but that can wait till tomorrow. For now, summon one of my mortal foxes, Kazura. Okay. Kushios no Jutsu, Kazura, she said, flying through the seals and biting her thumb. The smoke parted, revealing a medium-sized fox with dark brown fur, a single black stripe running down his chest. Hello, Kazura-kun. Yo, Naruto, he nodded as respectfully as he could before realizing something was off. You didn't summon me. Nope. That was I guess she's my mate. This is Hyuga Hinata-chan. Kyuubi-sama allowed her to sign the fox contract. Really? Kazura said, raising his eyebrows in approval. Sweet. So, why am I here? He asked the raven-haired girl, who shrugged her shoulders. You are going to be Hinata-chan's translator. She's going to be training a pack of mortal foxes before she meets the high court, I explained. Hina-chan, most foxes take an average of 2 to 4 months to learn how to speak English, sometime longer if they've never heard it before. Kazura will go with you into the Nara forest and act as your translator to any foxes you meet. Is that it? Basically. I recommend looking for younger foxes to start. They'll bond to you more readily than some of the older, more experienced foxes. Some of the more stubborn foxes will want to make sure you deserve the contract, but they should be more friendly if you say my name. Yeah, boss has a big name in the fox world, Kazura laughed, making me blush slightly. It's not like I did anything to deserve it. Dude, you're Kyuubi-sama's vessel. That's enough to make you interesting. Add that to the fact that you get along with can summon, and order the guy around makes you untouchable. Not untouchable. Just a little intimidating. Anyway, you know I don't summon him too much, he can't really control his chakra for the first few seconds he's out. He either tries to destroy everything in a half-mile radius or sends out a chakra pulse you can feel anywhere. Whatever, it's cool. So you want me to help your mate get her own pack? No problem, I can handle that, he said, looking Hina-chan up and down before walking to her side and sitting down. I also need you to stay with her until I return or I summon you. If there is an emergency, Hina-chan knows what to do. I'm going to be on the road so it might be hard to contact me, but if you need to tell me something tell Kakashi to send Pakun to me. Yes, sir, Kazura smirked teasingly. Do you want to see Kakashi-san while you're here? Itachi asked. I jumped, forgetting he was there. Kakashi's a big Anbu captain, I don't think he'll need me to keep tabs on him. I can always send him a fox if I need to. Itachi, whatever you do, make sure Danzo guarantees Sasuke's safety. I don't care how you threaten him or persuade him, but your brother is going to need protection from Heavy Team. Heavy Team? Itachi asked, his eyebrows raised at the nickname. You know who I mean, I rolled my eyes. Tell your summons to keep their ears open, Uro-sennin is going to need all the information you can get him. No problem. I'll be going now. I'll see you later, Rakudaime, Itachi said. It looked like he wanted to tell me something, but thought better of it as he vanished into the trees. I stood, activating my demon eyes and watching him run back to Konoha. I could tell he was trying not to look back. He's going to do it, isn't he? Hinata-chan said grimly. I nodded once and deactivated my dojutsu. I think so. I need to talk to him before he leaves Konoha. I'm going to check on Gaara and the others then come back, okay? I'll be at Kakashi's. I'll signal you when it's safe for you to come. Thank you, Hina-chan. I love you, I said, pulling her into a tight hug. I felt her smile against my shoulder. Love you too, Naruto-kun. See you soon, she whispered in my ear. I took a step back then remembered what was missing. I walked closer and pulled my mate into a kiss. I'll see you. Shut up and get over here, kid. Shukaku isn't very happy right now. Kyuubi yelled, concerned for his fellow demon softening his rough voice. Hina-chan's eyes widened in momentary shock. I smiled tightly, preparing for the Hiraishin. Demon time. See you as soon as Shukaku is calmed down. I closed my eyes and followed my chakra trail back to the Suna/Konoha border. Arriving in camp, I shook my head tiredly. Shukaku was now fully released, Gaara hidden somewhere out of sight. Pyrai was nowhere to be seen while Kyuubi stood in front of the sand demon, pinning him down with his tails. Shukaku. You'd think after what happened in the last timeline, you wouldn't pick a fight with me. I'm even stronger than last time, I don't care. If this is the only way I can talk without Zoran watching my every move. Now, I'm finally what are you now? You stupid. Shukaku, really? Act your age. You're sealed into a cub. There is only so much you can do without forcing my hand, I said, laying my hand onto Shukaku's hide, fully activating the seal I had placed over Gaara's original seal. This seal has more than one purpose. It allows me, as well as any other seal master, to feed off your chakra and cut you down to size. I'm a kid, he's a cub. What makes me interesting to you, Shukaku? How easily I can get along with Kyuubi? Because I can assure you, he hated me for 17 years of my life and I wasn't too fond of having a demon sealed within me until I figured out why my father entrusted his chakra to me. You were sealed to make the perfect weapon. I was sealed to make a hero, Kyuubi finished for me. I placed a hand on his leg affectionately and we watched as Shukaku shrunk down to the size of a mortal raccoon and Gaara stumbled over to us, dazed. Wow, what happened? Shika escaped but I brought him down. Say hello to your tenant Gaara. I forced him into this form, I said, smiling to the redhead before glancing back the tiny Ichibi demon. Isn't he cute? Kit, you don't have to torture him. It's his nature to make his Jinchuriki's life hell. He feeds off their pain. Kyuubi chided me. So did you grew out of it. I'm just speeding up the process, I defended my actions. Shukaku, you better get over this fast. I need to go back to Konoha. I will never. Aw, Shukaku-sama. You're so cute, Pyrai shouted, running out of the shadows and dashing to the raccoon. She knelt beside him and pet his head as he fumed silently. Pyrai, I just told the kid. You don't need to torture him. It's not his fault that Kyuubi was silenced as he noticed a long cut etched onto Pyrai's arm. It didn't look very deep, but it was bleeding nonetheless. I winced out of sympathy for the sand demon as Kyuubi let loose a wave of killing intent that would have scared Madara. Pyrai. What exactly happened to your arm? Kyuubi growled. Pyrai jumped slightly at her grandfather's voice and Shukaku shrank even more. Bad move, Shika. Very bad move, I said, shaking my head. Gaara's eyes widened as they darted between the two demons. Seeing the anxiety in his pale green eyes, I sighed and stood in front of Shukaku. QB, as much as I'd like to beat the raccoon into the ground, I can't. Okay, I probably could, but I won't out of respect for Gaara, as you shouldn't. I'll heal Pyrai, but even you can see that's not necessary. Her own demonic chakra is closing the wound. Kit, he warned, growling. I shook my head and emanated as many calm thoughts, every head memory I had, through the bond QB and I shared. He calmed, but didn't look very happy about it. You're lucky this time, Shukaku. Next time I won't be as lenient. I'll take care of Shika. Why don't you walk around for a bit? You haven't been out in a long time, I said. QB nodded his head before giving Shukaku once last growl and stalking away. You owe me one, Shukaku. I expect you'll behave in the future or I shall let Q fulfill his promise. If you wanted to come out so badly, all you needed to do was give Gaara the summoning contract. I'm sure he has enough chakra by now to summon you. The sand demon just grunted before turning away and sit down, staring into the fire. Gaara took a step towards him before glancing at me. He's not completely free. One touch, a single physical contact from you and he is sucked back into your improved seal. While he's out, I should probably tell you two more about the seal, I said, sitting next to Shukaku and reaching a hand towards his back. The seal has 4 effects from what QB and I have noticed. The first is that it more completely separates your consciousnesses. That way Shukaku has no direct influence on you, Gaara, but in turn you cannot force your will onto him. The second effect allows you, Gaara, to access Shukaku's chakra easier. He can still limit how much he gives to you, but what chakra he offers will be more available. The third is that, if Shukaku is released with your permission, you can physically absorb his chakra and make him shrink down. That's how I forced him into this form. There are 2 different ways to do that, and I'll show you how to use them both. The first takes his chakra and converts most it into usable chakra, human chakra. The other method takes him chakra and expels it into the environment. I wouldn't use that, it may have side effects. The last effect that I've noticed is that it makes the demon's chakra, in your case Shukaku's, inheritable. I finished awkwardly, not really wanting to go into the details. Like a Kekai Genkai? Gaara asked. I nodded in turn and he put on his stoic thinking face. How do you know? I winced. I'd rather not have the talk with a 6-year-old Gaara, but I needed to make sure of some things. I've told you I'm a time traveling. In the future, I was a father, I explained, trying to be evasive. She was 2 days old when I left for this time. Her name was Hana. Namikaze Hana, I said, smiling sadly. Gaara seemed to realize it was a raw topic and nodded in understanding. So your daughter, Hana, had QB's chakra? Not exactly. Instead of drawing on Q's chakra, like I did, she seemed to generate her own. Also, her chakra coils developed abnormally early, even faster than mine did after the sealing. Before you ask, from what I understand, you were born with your coils already strong. Shukaku was sealed into you before you were born. You had more time to adapt to the demonic chakra. At mention of his sealing, Gaara's bright eyes dimmed and he looked into the fire, avoiding my eyes. I know, he said with such bitterness it was easy to picture the Gaara I had met during my Chunin exams. The insanity that Shukaku fed him from such a young age, finally snapping before I beat him into a pulp. I shook my head as the sand demon grinned sadistically, laughing at what his influence had done to the young redhead. Listen to me, I said firmly. Gaara looked up but refused to meet my gaze. I know what you're thinking right now, Gaara. You aren't a monster, you weren't born a monster. You care about people, you value life. That's what made you try to fight Shukaku, that is why you wouldn't let yourself fall asleep. You kept your humanity alive, even at the price of never resting, never relaxing. You are not what Yashamaru said. Your mother named you for her hatred for your father, the injustice of what he did. The self-loving carnage. That is what your father wanted you to be. What your mother knew she would be powerless to stop. But you can stop it. You don't have to become what your father envisioned you to be. He was a fool to believe he could control your life. People like Danzo and the Yondame Kazekage, people who believe that people are no more than puppets to be controlled, are the monsters. They want you to become strong through bloodshed so that you can turn and spill blood in the name of your village. I want you to become strong so that you can return to your village proud to be a Jinchuriki, proud to be your own person. I said before realizing I was trying to press the Gaara I knew into this Gaara. I was repeating everything I knew Gaara, the god I am Kazekage and General-in-Chief of the Joint Shinobi Forces, to be. My voice caught in my throat and I coughed, completely ruining the seriousness of the situation. Gaara smiled and laughed easily. Shukaku glared at me indignantly. Stupid kid. Between you and QB, I knew get to have any fun. I wouldn't say that, Shika. Q isn't too far away, he may hear you. I grinned my vulpine grin, the smile broadening as the sand raccoon shuddered visibly. Good Shukaku. Kami, you're annoying. Q thought so too. I smiled at the demon who shifted his weight so he was facing away from my. Are you done moping yet? Because this entire training thing would go a lot smoother if you gave Gaara the scroll now. He hasn't earned my respect yet. Until he does, he doesn't deserve it. When he becomes who you think he can be, then we'll see. He got that far with you whispering in his head, pushing him to insanity before I knocked both of you from your pedestal. In case Q didn't tell you, I kicked your ass when I was a Jinan, and for that you have my respect. But why is that relevant? Do you want the contract? Shukaku chuckled. No thank you. One demon summons is enough for now. Maybe in a few years, I laughed back before feeling a pulse of chakra that didn't originate from our camp. I need to leave for a while. Will you two be okay while I talk to an old friend? I'll play nice, Shukaku smirked teasingly. Just tell the cub to keep his distance and I'll be fine. Hey, what are you? It's okay Gaara. He's just not ready to go back yet. If you touch him, he's sucked back into your head unless you learn how to interact properly. That's something I'll teach you later. Maybe tomorrow if Shika behaves himself. Training would be easier if he and QB kept each other busy. I heard that, kid. Don't you have somewhere to be? I felt the chakra from the seal. I was just making sure these wouldn't fight. I'll leave them to you and Pyrai, wherever she went. Don't kill Shika, Q. Gaara still needs to contract and I'll be very sad if I don't get the chance to beat him up again. No promises, kid. Get going. I'll be back late tomorrow, no killing defenseless villagers and such, I said, focusing on Hinata's blood-steel charm. If she had listened, I'd appear in Kakashi's apartment, next to Itachi. We'll see, I guess. I'm not telling you not to do this, Itachi. I know that Naruto. I see you got the Hiraishin down? I heard Kakashi's voice move from surprise to a mix of pride and approval. I opened my eyes and saw Hinata-chan moving towards me, capturing me in a hug. I hugged her back as I locked eyes with Itachi. His dark eyes were filled with determination but always a deeper sadness. I suppose you're going to tell me not to do this, eh, Naruto? He asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I didn't laugh, neither did he. No, I'm not. I wasn't lying to you when I told you that this was your decision to make. I couldn't tell you to kill you clan, neither could I ask you to wander blindly into uncharted territory. I and the others may not be happy with it, but this could be the best option. So why did you come here? Why tonight? Because I know you. You're going to do it as soon as possible. Tomorrow night, you're going to team up with an old enemy of mine and, in exchange for Sasuke's safety, you will annihilate your family and friends. I came to talk to you what to do next. Follow me, this isn't a secure place to talk. Where is a secure place? This entire village is filled with spies en route, Itachi said, trying to push back the bitterness that rose in his throat. Just follow me and don't make a noise, I replied, jumping silently out of the window before waving for the Uchiha to follow me. He narrowed his eyes slightly but slid out of the window, moving in the shadows to greet me. I held a finger to my lips and jerked my head towards my secure location. His eyes shone with questions but he nodded and we ran across the rooftops towards the forest of death, neither of us making a sound. At the gates, he turned to me. The forest of death. What is so important you needed to drag me out here? We aren't even there yet. Follow me, I said, jumping easily over the high fence. Come on, Itachi. You need everything I'm going to tell you. If you don't get this information, you may as well not follow through with your plan. What are you? No questions yet. Just trust me for now. How about that? Trust the Rakudime, I laughed. It was somewhat forced, but Itachi stared at me with defeated eyes. He jumped the fence as easily as I had. Lead the way, Hokage. Sure thing, Weasel-san, I chuckled, darting into the darkness. Itachi paused before catching up and I remembered how fast I must seem. I made a mental note to up my weights as Itachi caught up to me and studied me with slightly narrowed eyes. I'm wearing chakra weights. 55 pounds on each leg and arm with another 30 on my vest. I've been wearing these weights and increasing the weight since my 5th birthday. Kakashi guesses I'm about as fast as Guy is, but the green beast doesn't seem to want to spar with a 7-year-old, I explained, rolling my eyes. Itachi looked surprised, a rare expression on his face, before he absorbed the new information and slipped back into his emotionless facade. Isn't that a bit young to wear weights? Excuse me, Anbu Captain? You're what, 13? You were your clan's prodigy, I'm from the future. We are set to different standards, both of us. Sorry, I forgot. Sasuke killed you when we were 16. You gave him Amaterasu. I had Amaterasu? Itachi asked, the faintest trace of surprise in his tone. Yes. You were one of the most powerful shinobi until Sasuke came after you, and even then, you had some deadly disease you caught during your time with Akatsuki. You could put someone on a genjutsu by pointing at them. It was actually really cool. Except that one time you used it on me, but I forgive you. It was a long time ago, I said honestly. Itachi looked a little downcast at news of his future behavior. If it makes you feel better, I attacked you. You had already joined Akatsuki, as Jiraiya's spy, and you were sent to delay us from rescuing an old friend of mine. Who is your friend? Sabaku no Gaara, Godime Kazekage. The Akatsuki were after the Baijuo and Gaara was Shukaku's jailer. Datara and his partner, a famous puppeteer named Sasori, infiltrated Suna and brought Gaara down. From what I heard, he put up a hell of a fight, though. He even destroyed Datara's arm. He lost eventually and they stole the Ichibi, killing him. I'm sorry, Itachi murmured, the sound almost absorbed by the trees we were quickly passing. It's fine. One of the Suna elders, Lady Chiyo, came to the rescue. She used a forbidden medical ninjutsu. It brought Gaara back at the cost of her own life. Her body was taken back to Suna and she was buried by her brother. Gaara returned to Suna in the position of Kazekage. He got married, had a son. He was there when I became Hokage, one of the first people to congratulate me on achieving my lifelong dream. Later, in the Fourth Great Shinobi War, he was my general-in-chief. If there is anything to be sorry for, it's the fact that Gaara may never happen now. I changed his present, taking him away from Suna and trying to mend his relationship with Shukaku. All I can do is hope he directs his remaining bitterness at the right people, not all of Suna. I finished, my feet touching the ground in front of my personal training ground. Itachi had a similar reaction to Hina-chan. Shock. What happened here? Relearning the Rasengan, relearning Sage Mode, summoning a very large demon fox. She wasn't very happy about that. Rasengan again, Rasen Shuriken, Hiraishin, Chidori, Rasen Shuriken again. A few misplaced taijutsu moves, I said, pointing out individual craters and fallen trees. Oh, that one is my favorite. That's from a sparring session with Kakashi. Without my medical ninjutsu, he probably would have been in the hospital for a few months. Or dead. I didn't have a scratch, I said, laughing as I pointed to the largest crater in the field. Actually, that's a lie. I skinned my knee jumping back from a very sharp-looking kunai. What did you do? Chidori in one hand, Rasengan in the other. Demon eyes. It was fun. He barely dodged it. You could have killed him, probably. I just remember something he told me the second day I knew him. He told me that, if I wanted to win, that I'd need to come at him with the intent to kill. He's regretted saying that ever since. Believe me, I laughed before groaning. I realized how close I'd been to saying believe it. What? Old catchphrase. It's coming back. But that's not important. You need to know what happened to you and Sasuke. I'm going to tell you everything I know of what you did after you left Konoha. If you follow it closely, the timeline should stay intact on your end and I'll be able to predict most, if not all, of what happens over here. You were 7 when I left the last time. How much could you know about the first few years after that? You were Jiraiya's spy. Some time before he died, he told me the truth about you. In that timeline, you and Danzo led everyone to believe that you killed the Uchihas as a test of your strength, leaving Sasuke alive because he wasn't even worth killing. Uro-sennin told me why you did what you did, as well as every speck of information you sent to him, via Weasel. You were very thorough, sending him updates on your whereabouts and assignments every week. That sounds like something I'd do, Itachi smiled tightly. So how are you going to do this? First, you are going to cast Tsukuyomi. I know you can do it, don't bother lying to me. You're smart. I'm sure the first thing you did after gaining the Mangekyo was going into the Uchiha records and learning all the jutsu. I checked the records, but I only know the theories. I don't know what could happen if you weren't going to get it wrong. This jutsu was almost made for you. With it, you completely controlled space and time, at least to the target. If I remember correctly, you put Kakashi in the hospital for weeks. I did what? Don't worry about. He forgives you too. You are going to need Tsukuyomi in the future. Why not practice without Madara poking his nose into your life? Scratch that, I almost forgot. He trains you for a while. Do the training, but never mind, I'll just show you all in one go. Well? Go for it. Itachi sighed at my enthusiasm but activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and staring into my eyes. I stared back, emotionlessly as the world was bathed in red by a scarlet moon. I glanced around myself, seeing only gray shapes. Is this? Good job, Itachi. See, I told you. This jutsu was made for you. And, Unlike some people Danzo and Madara this jutsu doesn't need to be completely offensive. You could use it like I use Cage Bunshine, to cut down the time it takes to learn a new technique. Or use it to gather information without inflicting actual damage. Okay, I did it. Now what? Now we take a walk, I joked lightly. Never mind, that was a horrible joke. Just be careful to control the time. This might take a while. Omoido Eriku no Jutsu. The forest, bathed in red, disappeared, replaced by my memories. In a blur, I showed Itachi every second of his life I had known him. Scenes of Itachi and Sasuke as children, sitting at the pier and laughing together, Itachi promising to help Sasuke train, Itachi poking Sasuke in the forehead before leaving to do his onbu work. I brought out Sasuke's figure after the Uchiha massacre, the brooding look on his stoic face, our Team 7 introductions in which Sasuke stated that he had no dreams, only an ambition and future to kill his brother as vengeance for his slaughtered family. I showed the fight in the hospital that Jiraiya was forced to stop, trying to prevent Kisame's involvement. Itachi calling his brother worthless and weak, unfit to call himself an Uchiha. Fighting Itachi alongside Kakashi and Sakura, Sasuke, already breaking his ties with us. My own encounter with Itachi, where he gave me some of his power. The 8-man squad's mission to find Itachi in order to lure Sasuke back home. Zetsu announcing that the duel between Sasuke and Itachi had ended, Sasuke as the victor. I showed Sasuke standing beside Madara after his battle with Danzo, yelling about the crimes Konoha had committed in sentencing Itachi to a life of banishment and treatment as if he were a criminal instead of completing his mission, assigned to him by Danzo. The memories began to become slower, more normal. Scenes from my training venture with Urosenin, learning all about Itachi's life. Later, watching Urosenin jump out of Tsunade Obachan's office window and running to meet me, saying we needed to talk. Later that night, he told me everything he knew of Itachi's life. Every single report was repeated and drilled into my memory for future reference. When the stream ended, Itachi was on his knees, gasping as he realized everything he did in my past, in his possible future. I gave him a moment of silence, knowing how hard it would be for this Uchiha Itachi to take in. You weren't evil, I said, cutting the silence. Everything you did, every word you said or battle you fought in, was all to protect Sasuke. You treasured his life and safety over the village and left him in its care. If it helps, in my opinion, it was the village that abandoned you. Danzo and the others were too afraid of repercussions against the leave. They declared you a missing nin so that you could help defeat Akatsuki and let Sasuke grow stronger so that he could take his revenge. It doesn't look like that worked out so well. Itachi coughed, getting to his feet shakily. No. Sasuke was too much like you. He treasured your life more than Konoha. When he discovered what you had done for him, he felt betrayed by the village and swore to defeat us by any means necessary. When he overused his Mangekyo, he took your eyes. So you want me to repeat everything that happened? Won't that give us the same result? Not at all. In the other timeline, Sasuke wasn't my friend, now he is. After you leave, I'm pretty sure he'll turn to Hina-chan and I will help him get stronger but give him a better reason for training. When you left that night, you told Sasuke to hate you, to want to kill you in order to get stronger. This time I'm going to knock some sense into him before he can get his mind set on that. He needs to understand that, if you have people to protect, you grow stronger than focusing on a single target. Kind of like Haku told me. Haku? A girl I met when I was Jinan. In the middle of the bloodline purge, she escaped and was found by the demon of the bloody mist, Momochi Zabuza. He took her in and trained her, I explained. Itachi nodded before staring into the trees. Do you see? It's only Kakashi. He's been there for a while. When I was finished, Kakashi walked out of the tree line, pocketing his Icha Icha Paradise book. That really is trash, you know. Hey, your master wrote it, Kakashi said, indignant. Yes, my master, the self-proclaimed super pervert, I said sarcastically. Don't you remember how many times Tsunade Obachan punched him through a wall for that? Lost count around 240. A lot of Jinan had missions to repair the office, Kakashi laughed, remembering. Anyway, I was just thinking about Haku. Do you think we could switch that up this time around? Zabuza and Haku would be good additions to the leave, and it's not like anyone's going to miss them. Good idea. I heard about Gaara. What are you going to do with him and Shukaku? What I said, train him for a year then give him the option to return to Suno or come back with me to Konoha. Do you think the council will approve? I know the Kazekage won't be happy. The Kazekage doesn't have a say in this. He sent Gaara's uncle, the man who raised him, after his head. He is 6 years old, I couldn't leave him there. You are so much like your father, Kakashi said, shaking his head. As well as the higher-ranking ninja. Need I remind you of that spar? I said, pointing to the large crater. Kakashi winced. "I know what I'm doing, Kakashi-sensei." "I thought I told you not to call me that, Hokage-sama. Titles are different in this time, I'm not your sensei, at least not yet. I'm going to try and get Team 7 back together." I didn't think holding an empty title would do anyone any good. No more Konoha, no more Hokage. Simple as that, I said before thinking about Team 7. "If you remake Team 7, you're going to have to push me harder. Or at least make it look like it. We need to make Sakura and Sasuke think I'm strong this early from being raised by you." "I don't think that's an option," Itachi cut in. "To be able to do a simultaneous Chidori and Rasengan is inhuman even for the son of the Yondaime." What do I have sealed into my stomach that's inhuman?" "I wonder," I said, rolling my eyes. "Even with the Kyuubi, Itachi has a point. At this point, Kyuubi should only be giving you chakra, not instruction. Only the council in Hiruzen knows you can talk to him. For you to know such high-level jutsu, I guess they can wait till the Chunin exam. No promises on the Hiraishin though, I'm going to need it in wave." "Deal," Kakashi said, holding out his hand. I shook it once before turning to Itachi. "You'll be met by Uchiha Madara. Tell him your plans. He wants revenge on the clan for something that happened decades ago." "Uchiha Madara as in the co-founder of Konoha?" "The very same. He wanted to be Shodaime, trying to guarantee equality for the Uchiha and the Senju. His clan thought he was power-hungry and shunned him. He's held a grudge against the Uchiha ever since. History aside, he's going to find you tomorrow night. Tell him what you're doing and he'll help you then train you, promising not to harm Sasuke." "Madara knows his politics, he doesn't want to destroy the Uchiha, he wants to get rid of corruption and rebuild. If you don't do this, Madara probably will, leaving Sasuke and you alive to rebuild the clan. I'm sure he's been watching the clan for a while, judging who's worth saving and who's not." "Did you know from the start that if I don't do this Madara is going to do it anyway?" Itachi's voice was slow. I expected anger, but there wasn't a trace, only sadness. "It was a possibility. If I know Madara, he's going to use this mission, this massacre, as a way to judge your potential. He's going to leave Sasuke alive so he can use you, working off of your care for your brother, and you want me to go along with this?" he asked, his voice emotionless. It was Kakashi who answered this question. "Both yes and no. Yes, because we want you to pretend to be a tool as long as it fits the timeline. No, because we have a request of sorts. We want you to get Tori out of there." Itachi paled at the sound of his girlfriend's name. "In the other time. Did I?" "There was only one survivor. Sasuke was more important," I said, my usual smile long gone. Itachi stared at the ground for a moment before meeting my eyes, his gray shining with determination. "She said she liked foxes. When we were young, she was sad when they were kicked out of Konoha," he said. I stood confused for a moment before understanding his plan. "I've got it covered. Where is her house?" "We sat in the forest of death, unbothered by the predatory creatures as we planned the biggest massacre ever to take place in the village hidden in the leaves. It left a bad taste in my mouth, but even the Rakudaime can change so much without destroying everything." The next morning, I stood in an alley, ready to contribute my first part of the master plan. The sun was hidden by clouds and a sense of foreboding sounded in my head. "Kushios no Jutsu," I murmured, watching a cloud of smoke rise up from the ground. It parted to reveal a large black fox, a single jagged white stripe down his flank. His yellow eyes shone with power and wisdom, a rare combination. "Ryu, I need you to find a young woman by the name of Uchiha Tori." "Hi, Naruto-sama," he barked, ready to move. "Ryu, be careful. The villagers are wary of foxes ever since Q's rampage." "I'm always careful. What should I do once I find the girl?" "Lead her to Kakashi's apartment. Kakashi and Hina-chan will be there. Also, try to not talk to Tori. She likes foxes but I'm not sure she'd be able to take in a talking fox without fainting." "Hi," the fox said, nodding respectfully before running over the rooftops towards the Uchiha compound. Turning away, I activated my demon eyes and searched for Sasuke's chakra signature. He may have been training late last time, but something could change, I thought to myself. I knew that I didn't want Sasuke coming home, especially in the midst of it. Found him. I let the chakra recede from my eyes, the color reverting back to blue. Sasuke was in the woods near Konoha, throwing shuriken and kunai at an unsuspecting tree. Watching him miss, I almost laughed, watching the future destroyer of the world, unable to hit a stationary target. I ran to his position, staying hidden in the trees. I hid my chakra signature and Sasuke didn't seem to notice me. When he winced, grabbing a kunai incorrectly, I stifled a laugh and put on my idiot mask, just like Madara. "Hey, Sasuke," I yelled, making him jump. I laughed as I jumped out of the bushes. Watching Sasuke laugh after recovering, I was reminded of the differences between the two Uchiha Sasukes I knew. This Sasuke had a sense of humor, the other would have tightened his grip on his kunai. "Hey Naruto. What are you doing? I thought you and Hinata were going out to ramen." "We were going to, but then her father showed up and took her home. Something about practicing her taijutsu, I think," I said, grateful to my clone's accuracy on my behavior. Then again, we were technically the same person. "Oh, alright. What are you doing out here?" "Kakashi's busy, so I was going to do some training. I was on my way to the field Kakashi and I used when I heard you, so I stopped by. Can I join?" I grinned my idiot's grin. It worked like a charm. Sasuke rolled his eyes and gestured next to him. "As long as you don't hit me," he smirked teasingly. There was no bitterness or anger in his smirk, it was innocence. "Same to you, I've been practicing," I said, letting my eyes drift into determination as I withdrew a handful of shuriken. Sasuke mirrored my expression and we began to torture the tree. We spent the entire day training. I showed Sasuke some of the chakra exercises I had learned from Kakashi in the original timeline, such as tree walking. He seemed a little frustrated when he fell the first few times, but seemed to cheer up when I truthfully told him it took me a lot of tries. When the sun had finally set, he was exhausted while I hadn't broken a sweat all day. "Hey Sasuke, wanna go get some ramen?" "My treat," I coaxed, trying to buy Itachi time. "Yeah, sure. I'm already late." "Oh, Kaa-san's already going to yell at me," Sasuke shrugged. I couldn't help but scream "no she's not" to myself. Keeping the facade, I led the way to Ichiraku Ramen. Once out food was finished, I thanked Tucci and Ayame and paid, pocketing Gama-chan as we left. "Hey Sasuke, do you mind if I walk home with you?" "I haven't seen Itachi-kun in forever," I said, changing the timeline again. "You don't think Kakashi-san will mind?" "Nah, he's busy talking to Danzo, the guy in charge of Anbu and another part of it called Root. He wants me to join up." "But you're 7 years old. How could you join that early?" Sasuke asked, shocked. "Well, your brother was a Jonin at 8. Isn't he an Anbu captain already? And he's like 13, I defended awkwardly. Sasuke backed down at mention of his brother. He knew Itachi was a prodigy and, even if he was the best brother ever, Sasuke would always be in his shadow. "I guess." We walked in silence until we reached the gates of the Uchiha compound, left ajar. Sasuke walked in, genuinely confused. I feigned confusion as I caught up with Sasuke, stopping at the street. The ground was bathed in blood, dyed scarlet from the bodies strewn across the pavement. I rushed to a number of bodies, knowing I wouldn't be able to save anyone but still needing to check. Planning was one thing, seeing Sasuke's relatives and friends slain in the street was another. Recognizing some of his friends, Sasuke fell to his knees and threw up. I looked up in a panic, unable to do anything. "I can't do anything. They're all your family. We need to check," I stammered, jogging to Sasuke's side. He stood, his eyes wide with grief, and nodded shakily. I pulled him in the direction of his house, wishing we were going anywhere else. A massacre. That is what everyone called it. To Sasuke, it was the loss of nearly everyone in his life he had cared about. Stumbling to Sasuke's parents, lying dead in the living room, I watched as Itachi spoke to Sasuke more harshly than either of us had heard him. Itachi glanced once in my direction before leaving, Sasuke unable to move, I unable to endanger the future. After the Uchiha massacre, Itachi was declared a missing nin and was put into the bingo book as an S-ranking ninja. Sasuke moved out of the Uchiha compound, into the apartment I shared with Kakashi. I myself stayed longer than I probably should have, chasing the fangirls away from my grieving friend. A week after the massacre, I told Sasuke that he should get strong to protect, not to avenge. Flashback. Sitting at the table for breakfast, Kakashi's eyes darted between Sasuke and I. Sasuke stabbed at his pancakes angrily, my eggs untouched. The tension grew in the silence, Kakashi and I communicating with our eyes. Sasuke's features grew darker, brooding, too much like the Sasuke I had known for over 10 years of my former life. "Sasuke. We need to train," I said, breaking the silence. The tension remained and Kakashi began to clear the dishes. Sasuke nodded angrily, his eyes focusing determinedly on the checkered tablecloth. "I'm not training to kill your brother," I said quietly. Sasuke's head whipped up, his dark eyes incredulous and angry, hiding a deeper sadness. "How can you say that? You saw what he did. He killed everyone I knew." "He didn't kill me, he didn't kill you. I'm not saying Itachi doesn't need to be punished for everything he did, he does. I'm saying I won't train to avenge. What happens once you kill him? What happens if someone else kills him? Then what?" Then I'll." "Sasuke, you don't know what you'll do. I know you too well. I also know that, no matter what I say, you will eventually face Itachi by yourself. But right now, we're 7. We can't take on an S-ranking missing nin. Your clan had some of the strongest ninja in the Leaf and he defeated all of them. Then what are you saying? Sasuke yelled, frustrated. I calmed myself before answering in a steady voice. I'm saying we need to train to prevent this from happening again, to anyone. I'm sorry, Sasuke, but your family is gone. My parents died the day I was born. No offense Kakashi, but you aren't my father. None taken, he smirked behind his mask. I'm saying we need to train to protect, not to avenge. If all we do is kill, we're no better than Itachi. So instead of getting stronger to kill Itachi, I'm going to train to protect Hina-chan, you, Kakashi, and the rest of Konoha. That's mine Indo. I walked out of the door without a glance backwards. I was in the hall when Sasuke caught up to me and put a hand on my shoulder. I paused, not looking back until I heard his voice. Can I come? He asked quietly, swallowing his pride. I smiled and grabbed his wrist, pulling him out the front door. We're going to the forest. Tell Iruka-sensei we're taking a personal day, I yelled to Kakashi, remembering that we had academy today. Kakashi sighed and picked up a cup of coffee, somehow drinking it without removing his mask. Don't forget to. I know, I shouted back. Sasuke, who had by now taken his wrist back, looked confused at me before I shook my head. I'll tell you later. It's not important just yet, I said, thinking of Uchiha Tori hiding away in the abandoned Namikaze estate. Whatever, Sasuke scoffed before glancing around us at the quickly disappearing buildings. Where are we going? My personal training field. It's trashed, I know, but it's the best place in the village. He looked like he was going to protest, or question me, but I just smiled. What, is the great Uchiha Sasuke scared of a little training? I teased. He scoffed and pointed forward. Lead the way, Dobe. Sure thing, team, I said, both of us falling into our old nicknames for the other. At the gates of the Forest of Death, Sasuke, like so many others, froze. He judged the height of the fence before staring into the warning trees. I jumped over and waited on the other side. This is Training Ground 44. It's usually reserved for the most serious Jounin, Anbu, and Root. Even then, most don't come here. Are you coming? Why don't they come here? Its name. Training Ground 44 is lovably nicknamed the Forest of Death. There are creatures in those woods that could overpower most Chunin easily. And you want me to go in there? Sasuke coughed, the brave facade melting away. Yes. Don't worry, I'm a little volatile. Everything in here knows not to mess with me when I train. I watched as Sasuke's eyes narrowed, probably wondering just how powerful I could be. I sighed mentally, knowing that I'd have to wound his ego to get him inside the fence. If you're scared, we can always go to an safer. Shut up, Dobe, Sasuke said, his eyes catching the hole in the fence that Hina-chan slipped through. He walked to the gap and passed through easily. I realized that, even if he tried, he might not have been able to jump the tall fence. Well, are we going? Yep. Stay close, everything in here knows me, not you. Just because you're near me doesn't mean you're inedible, I said, already moving into the trees. My slash marks on the trees had healed, so I followed my memory and my nose to my clearing. So where are you? Sasuke's question was cut short by the sight of the clearing. Itachi and I had done some sparring, so the field was in even worse condition than before. What happened here? I told you I was powerful. I come here so I don't. So Danzo doesn't know how strong I am. I don't want to be his tool. You have to swear that, no matter what you see here, you won't tell anyone except Kakashi. He already knows about this place. A lot of the damage is from training and sparring with him, I explained, blushing. Sasuke was speechless, so I made my way to my favorite tree. Do you remember what I showed you before? Tree walking? Yeah, why? Follow me, I said, running up the trunk of the oak. I sat on my favorite branch, gazing out at Konoha. Sasuke noisily jumped up to meet me, standing beside me on Hinata-chan's branch. So what are you? Look at it. The village. From here, you can see everything, the good, the bad, the rich, the poor. All working in balance with each other as they all try to make the best of what they were given. That's what I want to protect. That's why I'm going to be Hokage, I said, determined. Sasuke looked at the village for a moment before looking back at me. So when do we start? You're too impatient, Sasuke. You need to sit and enjoy life. Trust me, by the time I'm done with you, you'll be wishing for the chance to relax, I promised. Sasuke smirked, standing. I think I can take it, he said, his pride getting the best of him, again. No, you can't. But, if you're so stubborn, we'll start. First, You're going to do 200 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 laps around this clearing, then 100 punches and kicks with each arm and leg, I said, pulling out some chakra weights that I had brought for him. What? Sasuke complained, indignant. What is the point of? The point is that, at this exact moment, I'm wearing over 300 pounds of weights. 65 on each arm, 70 on each leg, with another 50 on my vest. If I take off the weights, I'm faster than Kakashi. He can't even see me, I said seriously. Put these on and activate them with your chakra. Don't use too much chakra or you'll kill yourself. Now, I said, jumping down into the field. I didn't soften my impact and a large crater spread around and under me. Get started, I grinned evilly. Sasuke gulped but started the exercises. When he finished, he was exhausted. The chakra weights were doing their job, slowing him down, but I could tell his muscles were slowly getting accustomed to them. Since it was still reasonably early, I sat at the largest crater, eyes closed in meditation before I shouted, Mizu Satoru, Yoku Idana. I jumped into the crater Kakashi and I had made sparring and slammed my open palm into the rock. The earth cracked under my palm before a rush of water erupted all around me. I jumped back, out of the crater, and watched as it filled with clearer water. I paused, smiling at my handiwork, before turning to Sasuke, whose jaw was nearly on the ground. We'll both be doing that exercise every day we can train, increasing the weights every 4 days whether or not we train. Now I'm going to teach you the next chakra control exercise, water walking. When we arrived back at Kakashi's apartment, Sasuke was dripping wet and I was struggling not to laugh, my stomach hurting from holding it in all day. Kyuubi laughed with me, enjoying Sasuke's struggle. When Kakashi saw us, he closed his book and his eyes tiredly. Please tell me you didn't use the hot spring, he said, a complaint rising in his tone. I don't take entertainment from watching children suffer, I chuckled sarcastically to my perverted sensei. Sasuke looked ready to hit me. I'd be scared if I hadn't been punched through a wall by Hinata-chan, Sakura, Tsunade Oba-chan, and a number of angry women whilst training with Uro-sennin. Sasuke, don't hit him. It's not his fault his judge of age is off. He is on level with most advanced jounin. Also, he's still bitter from when I taught him how to water walk. I took over at that point, knowing Kakashi would skew the details. Kakashi thought it'd be funny to teach me how to water walk over the hottest hot spring in Konoha. Let's just say I didn't get it right the first time, I grimaced. And he's bitter about the fact that I can beat his ass and I'm only 7. Isn't that right, Kakashi? Shut it, kid, Kakashi grimaced, remembering our latest spar. Flashback. Are you ready to give up? Kakashi asked me, breathing heavily. I only laughed before reminding him of my Nindo. I don't give up. I don't back down. Remember? That's why Iwa hated me, I laughed, dodging a Chidori. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, are you getting slow? That missed me by a long shot. You're lucky I can't touch me? Oh yeah, is it intent to kill time yet? Yes? Good. Chidori Rasengan, I yelled, focusing my chakra to each of my hands. I multitasked, swirling one chakra ball and electrifying the other as I activated Demon Eyes. Hey Kakashi. I'd duck if I were you, I shouted over the wind originating from my Rasengan. The silver-haired ninja's eyes widened. The Sharingan was used in this battle, and he tried to shine away. He didn't have enough chakra left to dodge it. Both of my attacks went into his left shoulder. I gasped for a moment before remembering that I had the most powerful medical ninjutsu in my arsenal, courtesy of Senju Tsunade and Haruno Sakura, the Slug Sannin and Neo Slug Sannin, respectively. My hands glowing with green chakra, flickering red at the edges, I held Kakashi's shoulder, laughing as he woke up dazed. Hey Kakashi? You are getting slow, I almost killed you that time, I chuckled under my breath. Not bad for 7 years old. Shut up, kid. And flashback. What? Sasuke said, his eyes moving nervously between Kakashi and I. Kakashi took over. He may not look it, but Naruto is easily one of the strongest ninja in the village. He's a seal master, an expert in genjutsu, invented his own style of taijutsu, and mastered even more ninjutsu than I have, including medical ninjutsu, he reported, seemingly proud. Kakashi, I told you not to tell anyone that. There's a reason I don't want Danzo to know everything about me, I chuckled, scratching the back of my head in my usual habit. And he doesn't like anyone to know he's cage level, Kakashi added. Kakashi-sensei. It's not my fault I'm this dangerous. I didn't say it's your fault, I'm just saying that you're strong. If you wanted to, you could probably take Itachi. Oi, I yelled. Sasuke turned to me, a mixture of confusion, jealousy, and betrayal in his eyes. He looked at me for a moment longer, studying me, before stalking out of the front door, grumbling to himself. Kakashi stared at Sasuke's retreating back. Was it something I said? That's the end guys. If you enjoyed then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.